This meeting is held via web meeting due to the COVID. Members of the public may participate by following the instructions listed on the agenda. You may also view and listen to the meeting on live stream, cable TV, the city website, and YouTube. Following roll call, during summary of hearing procedure, we will review how the public may provide comment during today's session. Commissioner Lardenois. Here. Commissioner Alawalia. Commissioner Barocio.
Here.
Commissioner Cantrell.
Here.
Commissioner Casey.
Here.
Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
Here.
And I believe Commissioner Young is absent, and I'll go back to Commissioner Alawalia. And
Yes.
outstanding, Commissioner. And then I think Commissioner.
Did you hear me?
Yes, indeed. And then I think Commissioner Garcia might be tardy. So moving on to the summary of hearing procedures. The procedure for this hearing is as follows. After the staff report, applicants and appellants may make a 5-minute presentation. City staff will call out the names of the public who identified the items they want to speak on. You may identify yourself using the raised hand feature if you're on the web meeting, or click *9 on your phone. Or you may call 408-535-3505 or email planning support staff at sanjoseca.gov and identify your name, number, and the item you would like to speak on. As your name is called, city staff will unmute you to speak. After we confirm your audio is working, your allotted time will begin. Each speaker will have up to 2 minutes. Speakers using a translator will have double the time.
Sorry, can I just interrupt you real quick? We actually do have some Chinese interpretation tonight. I want to know if I could just play the video real quick.
for just that portion, or am I repeating this whole thing, or what do you want?
No, you shouldn't have to repeat it. It's just so people who, if they're in the attendees and they want to go to the Chinese interpretation, then they can just move themselves. It's kind of just showing them how to do it.
Right, I believe that's the last agenda item. Is that correct?
I'm not sure which item needs.
Yeah, I believe
interpretation.
that was item 5C.
Yeah, but I have a video that tells them like how to get themselves into the interpretation room, because there's someone in a breakout room right now that's interpreting everything that we say.
Okay, well, that's great. So just to be clear, is the video covering what I was supposed to say, or is it something completely different?
It's different. I believe it's just, I mean, I can't read it exactly because it's in Chinese, but it's just showing you how to, like someone who doesn't speak English, how to move themselves into the room so they can hear it.
Okay, well, that's fine. So then I'm not going to read any more, and then we'll start the meeting, and then before that, you'll do the video. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can just do it right now real quick, and then we can just continue where you left off.
Great. Well, actually, well, then let me just finish where I left off, and then we'll do the Chinese interpretation. Does that sound all right?
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, so after the public testimony, the applicant and appellant may make closing remarks for an additional 5 minutes. Planning commissioners may ask questions of the speakers. Response to commissioner questions will not reduce the speaker's time allowance. Staff will unmute the speaker to respond to the commissioner. The public hearing will then be closed, and the planning commission will take action on the item. The planning commission may request staff to respond to the public testimony, ask staff questions, and discuss the item. If you challenge these land use decisions in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at this public hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the city at or prior to the public hearing. The Planning Commission's actions on rezonings, pre-zonings, general plan amendments, and code amendments is advisory to the City Council. The City Council will hold public hearings on these items. Section 20.120.400 of the Municipal Code provides the procedures for legal protests to the City Council on rezonings and pre-zonings. The Planning Commission's actions on conditional use permits is appealable to the City Council in accordance with Section 20.100.220 of the Municipal Code. So then I will pause and I'll start again on item number 1. So go ahead.
Also, Chair Oliverio, I don't know if you call my name during roll call.
Commissioner Barroso?
Rosario.
Rosario, my apologies, Commissioner Rosario.
And Barinder is also in.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioner Garcia is also in the attendee section.
Fantastic. Full house minus Commissioner Young, I believe.
您好，感谢您参加今天的会议。若需要使用 Zoom 的语言翻译，请点击 Zoom 窗口下方的地球图标，然后选择您所需要的语言。为了让您能够清楚地听到翻译语音，我们建议您选择关闭原本语音的选项。请点击地球图标后，选单上的最后一个选项。
That cover it?
Yes.
Great. Call to order today. Before we begin, remind the Planning Commission members and members of the public to follow our code of conduct at meeting. This includes commenting on the specific agenda item only and addressing the full body. Public speakers will not engage in a conversation with the commissioners or staff. All members of the Planning Commission staff and the public are expected to refrain from abusive language. Repeated failure to comply with the code of conduct, which will disturb, disrupt, or impede the orderly conduct of this meeting, may result in removal from the meeting. This meeting, the Planning Commission will now come to order. We're on item 2, public comment. Are there any hands or people that would wish to speak at this meeting under public comment for something that is absolutely not on the agenda tonight? Must be different.
I have one hand for Paul and yeah, just Paul.
Okay,
Wait.
great.
Okay, Paul, you're unmuted?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. Let me give you some statistics. From 2016 till this particular quarter, this last quarter, 95 to 115% of market rate housing goals have been met every single one of those quarters in that time period. At the same time, in the same time period, 2016 till this last quarter, the threshold of 25% of ELI, VLI, and everything else has never broken 25%. Never. Okay, and so this commission needs to start accepting and assuming some responsibility for the amount of market rate housing proposals that are going through your desk. I don't want to hear, oh, well, we're just a commission. All we do is give recommendations. The council, no, that's not going to work no more. Why? Because you know very well that there is a symbiotic relationship between this planning commission, developers, and the council. People in economic and cultural development, people in housing. There's all of these relationships that are built. And so it's not just one person, it's not just one commission, and it's not just, hey, they could do whatever they want. We just make recommendations. When you have 95 to 115% of those housing goals being met and only 25% not, it stems from here. It's this commission. This commission has to start assuming some responsibility for that. Okay, because what you're doing is you are literally squeezing out, you're creating poverty in the city through this planning commission. Okay, because it is your decisions that the council uses, and they just rubber stamp them, boom, 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 rubber stamp everything, because it starts here. Okay, so you need to start assuming some responsibility for the poverty that's being created in the city, because it's created because of the market rate housing. And yesterday was an example. They gave $9 million, man, to that SCAPE project down there on Reed Street. $9 million.
Staff, are there any other hands for public comment?
Yeah, we have one more.
Oh,
Hi, I can hear you. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm speaking on behalf of the Centro Atlántico Mostoc, where we're located in an area where we're going to be dislocated, and what we're seeing is that a lot of the developers, with the blessings of the city, are developing these high-rise apartments, and basically are displacing us, and we're one of them. And we're seeing that many of the neighborhoods, especially in the Washington Gardner area, are being displaced, and there's no alternative that I see from the city or from you all to be able to protect those neighbors from moving out. The school, the Washington school, has lost already 100 children because of the displacement. So what we're seeing is that you all are giving funds to these developers to build high rises for people that are paying high rents, and you're kicking us out. That's what we're seeing right now. And the Centro Atlán is also in that category, where they're going to displace us, and we have a function in our community to serve our community, and we are out in the cold. So this is a very serious situation, and if you all have any power, which I don't know and which I doubt, have to raise this issue. Thank you.
Any other speakers?
No, we do not.
Okay, so we'll close the public comment. Item 2, I do want to note to the last speaker, the city does not provide money to developers for housing. It only does so if the development is a low income, deed restricted housing project. That is the only scenario where the city provides funding. And to the first speaker, I need to correct the misinformation. This is an advisory body. We have absolutely no purview into the prioritization of applications that are submitted or processed. Applications that are submitted and then processed by the city are done so by private entities based on what the city has shared with the public through its general plan, through its goals and aspirations for the city. When any given block or parcel comes forward is up to a private action and not the city. Okay, moving on. We don't have any deferrals. Our consent calendar only has one item on it, which is the minutes from October 12th. Do we have a motion on the consent calendar?
I motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I
And-
second it.
That's great. We will then do the roll. Commissioner Lardenois,
Yes.
Commissioner Alawalia,
Yes.
Commissioner Borosio,
Yes.
Commissioner Cantrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Casey,
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Ornelas Wise,
Yes.
and Commissioner Rosario.
Yes.
Outstanding. So now we are moving on.
Mr. Chair, may I please confirm who seconded?
Casey.
Thank you, Commissioner Casey.
Okay, now we're off to the public hearing, item 5, specifically to H20038, site development permit. Off to staff.
Yes. I would like to share my screen. Give me the moment. Can you see the screen? I mean, the
Yes.
PowerPoint. Okay, thanks. So good evening, Chair and Planning Commissioners. My name is Angela Wang. I'm the project manager with Planning, Building, and Code Enforcement for item 5A, file number H20-038. Before you this evening is a site development permit to allow the development of a 30-story mixed-use tower on the 0.75-acre site located at the south corner of South 2nd Street and East San Salvador Street. The project includes the demolition of the existing vacant Boattown restaurant building and the 3 accessory buildings and structures on site, the removal of 1 ordinance size tree and 1 non-ordinance size tree, and for the construction of a 30-story, approximately 606,000 square foot mixed-use building, including 430 square feet of ground floor commercial space and 540 residential units and 4 levels of below-grade parking. The project also includes extended construction hours from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday to Saturday over the entire construction period, which is approximately 33 months. The existing Boattown restaurant building on site, so you can see the photo here, is listed on the historic resource inventory as a structure of merit and is eligible as a candidate city landmark because it is one of the only extant examples of a Googie-style building in downtown San Jose. The demolition of this building will result in a significant and unavoidable impact to the historic resource and a significant and unavoidable cumulative impact to the historic resources. The environmental project manager will briefly talk about this shortly. Go to the next slide. So as shown on the map, the project site is designated downtown and is within the downtown primary commercial zoning district. I'm going to talk very briefly about one of the key design concepts. So the design of the project takes the inspiration of the architectural resource on site by integrating a new restaurant at the same location, incorporating the key design features of the existing building to the new building, such as the similar roof style and some similar building materials near the entry. And also keeping the existing Boattown signage as recommended by the Historic Landmarks Commission. The project applicant will provide more details of the project after the staff's report. And so the downtown general land use designation supports high intensity developments and allows a density of up to 800 units per acre and a floor area ratio up to 30.0. The proposed density is 719 dwelling units per acre, and the proposed floor area ratio is about 15.3. The project is consistent with the downtown general plan land use designation. The project is also consistent with the applicable city council policies. The project conforms with the development standards for the downtown primary commercial zoning district. And the project design is also consistent with the downtown design guidelines and standards, with 4 exception requests due to the unique site situation, as discussed in the staff report. The City of San Jose, as the lead agency for the project, prepared a supplemental environmental impact report. So now I'm going to turn it over to the environmental project manager, Carol Hawkins, to briefly talk about the environmental review for the project.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Kara Hawkins, and I am the environmental project manager for this Bowtown mixed-use project. So as Angela already mentioned, the City of San Jose prepared a supplemental environmental impact report, which I will refer to as the SEIR, to the Downtown Strategy 2040 Final Environmental Impact Report for this Bowtown mixed-use project in compliance with CEQA. The slide before you outlines the previous milestones for the draft SEIR. So on November 7th to October 7th, 2021 is when we released the notice of preparation, which basically outlines what we hope to analyze during the EIR process and asks for community input on what they would also like to see included in that document. Around the same time as when we held the scoping meeting on September 9th, 2021, just to get verbal confirmation or verbal input from community members and organizations. This was held virtually over Zoom. And then from April 29th to June 14th, 2022 is when we publicly circulated that draft EIR so that the community members had a chance to review the analysis and provide comments on our close to complete analysis. 3 comment letters were received during that time, which I will speak about later on in the presentation. And then the first amendment was publicly posted online on October 14th, 2022. And the first amendment responds to all of the public comments that we received. And it also contains text edits to the draft EIR if we wanted to clarify anything or change any of the information, minor information. All parties that commented on the EIR were notified via email and newsflash when this document was made available online. I will go into more information on those comments in the rest of my presentation. Next slide, please, Angela. So the EIR did identify a few significant and unavoidable impacts that would occur as a result of this project if it were to be approved and constructed. The EIR found that it would result in significant and unavoidable impacts to air quality, specifically in regard to significant cancer risk to nearby sensitive receptors during project construction, as well as to cultural resources from demolition of the eligible candidate city landmark that Angela previously discussed. This was also a cumulative impact to cultural resources from the demolition of that eligible structure. Due to the size, location, and placement of the proposed project, there are no suggested feasible mitigation measures to reduce those impacts. So that's why we are considering those significant and unavoidable. Therefore, a statement of overriding considerations would be required from City Council when it gets to that point. Other resource sections, including air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, hazards and hazardous materials, and noise and vibration, did have identified impacts. However, those were able to be mitigated to less than significant with the inclusion of certain conditions and measures that the applicant would be required to implement when the project moves forward. Moving on from there, the draft SEIR analyzed 4 project alternatives, which are briefly listed on the slides in front of you. The 4 alternatives analyzed were a no project alternative, which basically would keep the site as it is today, and no development would occur. The second is the reduced development alternative, which would eliminate the below ground parking currently proposed for the purpose of reducing emissions. This parking would be included in some of the first ground floor levels of the project, which would reduce the number of residential units proposed. Third alternative that was proposed during the SEIR process was a preservation alternative 2, preservation of the historic resource on site. This would keep the eligible landmark structure and build the residential on the remainder of the site. And then the final alternative that was analyzed was a reduced density and preservation alternative, which is basically a hybrid of all of the other alternatives, which would retain the eligible landmark structure, eliminate the below ground parking, and construct approximately 500 residential units. This last reduced density and preservation alternative was identified as the environmentally superior option because it would reduce all of the significant and unavoidable impacts that I discussed previously, and it would meet the majority of the project objectives. Next slide, please. And then finally, as previously mentioned, the city received 3 written comment letters during the public circulation period. Comments were submitted by 3 agencies, which were the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority, VTA, Valley Water, and the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, referred to as BACMed. The public comments predominantly focused on recommendations for improvements to the existing bus stop, recommendations for dewatering and groundwater measures, and concern over air quality construction impacts. All comments were responded to in consultation with the respective technical subconsultants and city departments such as Public Works to ensure that all responses were thorough and accurate. The comments received during the public comment period did not change the EIR findings or necessitate recirculation of the EIR. Staff is available for any questions on the EIR, and I will now hand the presentation back over to Angela.
Thank you, Kara. So as discussed in the staff report, the project is consistent with the general plan, zoning code, development standards, the council policies, and the downtown design guidelines. Therefore, staff recommends that the planning commission recommends city council to adopt a resolution certifying the SEIR and adopt a resolution approving this site development permit. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Manford, you have your hand up?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the interpreters are asking that we let the staff and speakers speak a little slower so they can catch up and be able to interpret.
Okay, but again, I think the interpretation was requested on the last agenda item and not this one. Is that correct?
Yeah, typically, if it's requested, they do all.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Question for staff. So when the Bay Area Quality Management District comments on air quality, are they opposed to new housing construction?
No, to clarify, this is Kara Hawkins. BACMed overall supported the proposed project as it was to provide more housing. They are definitely in support of our general plan goals to provide more housing, especially in the downtown core. They just wanted to draw attention to the fact that this would be a significant unavoidable air quality impact, and they had recommendations for measures that maybe we could include in that EIR in addition to what we already had. However, when we went back and talked with the subconsultants and looked over the data, the air quality subconsultants were confident that the measures that we already included had kind of encapsulated the entirety of what we could condition to reduce those impacts as much as possible, and that nothing else would bring that to less than significant unless components of the project itself was changed.
Right. I just wanted to confirm that they were in favor of new housing construction. So
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantrell?
I just
take the presentation from the developer and the public comment before we continue discussion.
Well, I just want to see if you have questions
Okay.
for staff. Now's okay. If you
I just wanted to just kind of make a general recommendation. If we could include in that staff's presentation what the formula is for affordable housing, just as a reference, because I think the public kind of wants to know that, at least I do up front. If that's possible, I'd like to see it.
Sure. Staff, is this project in accordance with city's housing policy, whether it's in lieu or inclusionary?
Chairman, this is Pat Kelly, Planning, Building, Code Enforcement, Angela Supervisor. Yes, the project is required to provide a certain amount of affordable housing. I believe it's 20% through a combination of on-site or in lieu fees. And the in lieu fee, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but they're allowed to do a combination of either on-site or in lieu payment for projects, and that the final combination is determined prior to issuance of building permit.
Great.
Through an affordable housing compliance plan.
Great. Commissioner Cantrell, does that satisfy you?
Kind of, but not really.
So I mean,
know
so
we don't
the
know exactly.
project, so I mean, is it, what didn't satisfy you about that?
So I know we don't know the exact numbers, but it would be nice to know upfront what's proposed specifically, whether or not they were going to pay into the fund or they're going to deliver units and the proposed number of units. You know, it would be.
The applicant may be able to provide some insight on that during their presentation.
Okay, and then Commissioner
And then
Lardner,
Commissioner
might you want to
Cantrell,
weigh-
yeah, Robert, I just wanted to add that in most instances, planning staff wouldn't know because the developer will still be in negotiation with housing department. So the developer or the applicant themselves will be able to say where they are in the negotiation and what they really intend to do, whether they want to pay the in lieu or meet all the other requirements for on-site or off-site.
And Robert, suffice it to say, though, an applicant must comply with whatever the city council has passed as the current requirement.
That is correct. And it's part of the conditions of approval for all projects.
Okay, great. So Commissioner Lardner, did you want to wait till after applicant application? Any other questions for planning staff? I don't see any. So I guess we'll move on to the applicant. Let's see here. Have we identified the applicant?
Can we promote the applicant to the panelists?
What is the applicant's name? Sorry, I'm
I think it's Andrew Jacobson and Jacqueline Cho. Yeah.
Jacqueline?
Yes.
Can you also add Ernie Yamani to this, please?
And Andrew, will you and Ernie be splitting time, or will one of you
I'll
speak?
introduce it. Ernie is with Steinberg Hart, the architect, and so he'll actually do the presentation of the project.
Has Ernie been promoted?
So yeah,
He should be going over there. Needs to be, okay, there goes.
Okay, so I think they're both promoted. So Andrew, if you want to start, you have 5 minutes, and then you'll have 5 minutes afterwards if there's comments from the public or commissioner discussion, et cetera. So
Great. Well, first, thank you to the commission for allowing us to bring this project forward. We're really excited about it. This is a great collaboration on the design side from Steinberg Hart, who's a prominent local architect, and James Chang, who is a Vancouver, Canada-based architect that we've done a number of projects with over the previous decades. This is one of a handful of projects we've been bringing forward, and we're really excited about downtown San Jose and the possibilities. Before we get to this, I do want to point out in the coming future, we'll be bringing forward another project that is going to be working with the state and city on how we can address supportive housing, affordable housing, and market rate really close to this site. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ernie to present the project.
I'm not able to share my screen, I don't think yet.
Staff, you want to pause the time until he's able to share?
Let's see. Okay, hold on. Can you see that?
Yes. Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Commissioner Oliverio and fellow commissioners. My name is Ernie Money, as Andrew mentioned, principal with Steinberg Bart Architects. I'm personally excited to be here tonight. I've been practicing here for 45 years, and it's great to see what's happening in the downtown. This project, I think, is also a great addition to that. We have been working with West Bank. They're doing many projects, as you know, in the downtown, kind of raising the level throughout the city. They've had a long history of dealing with heritage within the cities that they've developed. And we've kind of applied some of that to the Boatown restoration. This project represents both past and the future. It honors, I think, the history of our valley and the agricultural heritage that we've had. It'll rebuild this local restaurant, which came in the 60s, has a very distinctive architectural style. But it also embodied, as we went through the public meetings, many memories of the citizens here, either that lived in the downtown or were students at San Jose State University. In the future, I think the orchard will bring nature to every unit, will be one of the most energy efficient, if not the most, and sustainable residential project ever built in the city. Our goals are to meet or exceed LEED Platinum and ILFI standards in the project. I believe this will set a new benchmark for both quality and performance in that regard. The project, as mentioned by staff, is comprised of 540 units, 30 stories. Parking is provided at 194 cars. The project is located on the corner of 2nd and San Salvador, really in the heart of the SOFA district. Ground floor amenities will include the restaurant space, which was mentioned, an urban courtyard with seating, a West Bank branded bicycle club with repair services, and member lounge, and residential co-working spaces. The typical floor is a mix of studio, 1 to 3 bedroom units, some with additional den spaces, each unit having outdoor space and landscaping maintained by the project. The rooftop amenity space, I think, is a huge feature, including an indoor-outdoor pool, outdoor kitchens, party areas, gym and spa spaces, dog and pet spaces, and extensive terrace areas for use by the residents. This is kind of a quick section cut through, but you can kind of see the amenity floor on the roof and the underground parking. On the left is a section through the 1-story Boatown restaurant, which is being reconstructed there. This is a view of the north. View from the east, and it's really the backdrop of balconies and landscaping that you kind of see with the restaurant in the courtyard in the foreground. There's the articulation of the top of the building. So the building has a top, which really draws its inspiration from the Boatown restaurant on the corner. The rendering from the north, from the San Salvador side, and kind of at the street level, we have finishes of glass and stone and warm kind of golden anodized frames, which were kind of drawn from the existing building. Kind of a view from south along 2nd Street kind of gives you a feel of, that facade. Probably most importantly.
Hey, the 5 minutes is actually up. I don't know if you want to let them wrap it up or continue. Okay.
So these are just some other images, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Hey, Ernie, apparently your time is up. You can come back to other items after public comment. Okay. So I think at this time we'd look for public comment. Is that correct? Unless staff wants to add anything.
Okay. So
Hello?
listen to English and speak to Chinese button. It says listen to speak.
Wait, sorry. Yay. Or sorry, just a second again.
Does staff have any comments after the applicant presentation?
No.
Okay, great. So now we'd move to public comment.
Okay, so we have Paul. Paul, go ahead.
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe, and to my Chinese brothers and sisters listening, xie. What I'd like to talk about is that restaurant, I don't care if that gets torn down, because that restaurant used to be a Sambo's. Okay, I don't know if you know about what Sambo's represented, but that was a blackface character. Tommy Smith and Juan Carlos could not eat at that restaurant. They could not eat there. Okay, so tear it down. I don't care about no racist restaurants, because that was a Sambo's. I know this because I used to walk by it every day on my way to the Jose Theater to watch Bruce Lee. Secondly, you didn't mention how many parking spaces. Oh, we want to go green. We want the city to go, just no vehicles, no vehicles, no vehicles. You got all kinds of parking in this space. You were going to load the area with pollution, okay? That's number two. Number three is that a market rate housing is 120% above the median household income. Once this place is built, the median household income in this area is going to be over $180,000. That's 120% of the household income. $180,000. What kind of people are going to be living there? Why don't you give the prices of what those condos are going to cost? And to what Commissioner Cantrell, I appreciate the question, Commissioner Cantrell. Let me tell you what happened yesterday. When they built the Scape, the Scape, when they approved Scape, the city gave $9 million tax break. The annual fees that were charged to the developer were per unit $130,000. So not only did they make out like bandits by getting the $9 million tax break, but they only paid $130,000 for each in-lieu unit that they bought back. And they're gonna profit off of that as well. That's the kind of con game that's going on in this planning commissions and all of these relationships. It's a con game. You're lying to the people.
Okay, next speaker. Thank you. Thank you for your comments, Paul.
This is Michelle Mashburn. I was asked to unmute, but I wasn't told it was my turn, so I'm not sure what's going on.
I think you can go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, you can go ahead. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of things on the back.
Okay.
Multitasking.
Thank you. My name's Michelle Mashburn. I'm a resident of downtown San Jose. I'm actually here for another item, but this item caught my attention as well. With the modified plan, my question is regarding the ADA housing that is getting put into this building, because currently we have 1 in 4 disabled people in our society, in American society, and it's likely going to be more than that. When people talk about the bottom floor apartments getting reduced, that means the accessible housing is going to be reduced. So therefore, I'm asking with this project and other projects that an accessibility audit is done on all proposals put forward by the developers to ensure that there is an adequate number that meets the community need and not simply the ADA code for accessible housing. You know, affordable housing is another issue on a commission that is predominantly male. I tend to wonder some about the equity variables that are getting poured into this, because I don't necessarily see in this meeting structure those equity variables around racism, sexism, classism, and of course, ableism. Thank you. I'll cede my time.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. We have one more speaker, I believe. No, 2 more.
Thank you, commissioners. This is Mike Sodergren, Preservation Action Council. First of all, I want to just start by restating something that has already been stated, that this is in fact an eligible or a candidate's city landmark. It is a very unique style. I think it was said that there's not many examples. I don't think there is any other example of this Guru style of building in San Jose that I am aware of, certainly not in downtown. You know, PAC has spoken with the designers of this project. It is actually a beautiful design. We would, of course, prefer that, an original candidate landmark would not be demolished, but we do feel that the inclusion of original elements, design elements, and specific elements of the original restaurant could be good. With great sensitivity to what one of the public speakers mentioned about the heritage of this building, it was something else before it was Bowtown. And culturally, I hope in the future that anybody that goes to that door at any time of day will be welcomed. The main function of the restaurant before it was Bowtown was a 24-hour dining establishment, and we hope certainly that that is the vision of the developer in this case. I do want to point out that the reduced density option was a loss of 40 units, which does not seem catastrophic in exchange for the preservation of the the candidate landmark and above-ground parking. In any event, PAC is in support of this project as designed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We have one more speaker. Ryan.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Globus. I'm a resident of San Jose, just outside downtown, near the Alameda. And I just wanted to call in to say this is a really exciting project. I know a lot of small businesses in the downtown area are struggling with the post-pandemic normalcy and fewer people working in the office. This is a great way to get them more customers and add more livelihood and more foot traffic to make downtown more fun and feel more comfortable. I'll also add, I hope that the Planning Commission and the city don't impose additional ADA audits or requirements beyond what's normally required on this project. I know that, my mother uses a wheelchair, and I've lived in many different places, and by far the most accessible place was a multi-story building built in 2010, which had elevators and step-free access. And so I'm sure this building, if it follows normal ADA law, will have all of those things and will be far more accessible than most of the existing housing stock. So please approve this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. I don't see any more hands, so I believe we'll go back to the applicant. And you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
I don't have too much to say. I know there were quite a few comments. What I would say is we are really excited about the downtown and the direction of downtown, and we hope this, not only this project, but the many projects we have in our pipeline in downtown can, one, add value culturally, add value economically, and bring a sense of inspiration, but also some leadership on not only things like sustainability that we'll be going for LEED Platinum on, but also things like parking, where we're very aggressive on our parking count. And our hope here is that we can create a great downtown where people are living, working, playing in downtown, and that brings a downtown that people are walking to. So I don't know, Ernie, if you have any other comments, but I'll leave it with you.
No, I think I just want to thank everybody. This wouldn't have happened without our client. I think we have a whole team, that contributed. Our partner, James Chang, as a design architect. And thank you, the staff who we've been working with a few years on this. And this is a great evening for us to be able to present this for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go to the commission. Any questions or actually, staff, did you have any comments based on applicant presentation, public comment, etc.?
No, not at this time.
Great. Commissioner Lardenois.
Thank you, Chair. Got a couple questions. Chuck, I'll let you have the one about inclusionary housing. But so I'm curious. It's interesting to me that this project essentially includes a recreation of the restaurant that's being demolished. Was that to satisfy a legal requirement, or was that just a voluntary design decision?
So it's not for any legal requirement. It was really, you know, when you look at the structure itself and not really the history of the occupants in it, you know, the mid-century modern design struck us as just really interesting and unique. Unfortunately, the building and structure itself is in pretty poor shape, and so it was, you know, and we had many conversations with local groups like PAC-SJ of what can we do here that brings that interest. And so that was really the design direction was, you know, you can't keep the building, but how can we bring that inspiration and not only bring back the structure, but continue that throughout the project.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. And, you know, generally the aesthetics of a project aren't a primary concern with how this commission votes, but I want to say I do appreciate that incorporation and building something that's not another blue glass tower, as is very common in modern developments. Then I also wanted to ask staff about 3 p.m. today, we received a letter from a group opposing the project on EIR grounds. I'm just curious if staff or Mark have any comments on that. Not, I understand it just happened, but just curious.
This is Kara Hawkins from the CEQA team. I would just like to clarify that I never received any opposition letter this afternoon, so unfortunately I'm not familiar.
That's for a different item on the agenda.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. I was reviewing it. Excuse me. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, I just want to wrap up my comments with I appreciate that there's 3-bedroom units in this development. I know it's very common for you know, dense apartment development to only include up to 2 bedrooms, and having 3-bedroom units creates more opportunities for families to live in a project like this. So thank you for incorporating that.
All done then, Commissioner Lardenois? Great. Commissioner Cantrell?
Yeah, I'd love to hear what the metric is for affordable housing, how it's being addressed by the developer.
Yeah, so we're still working with housing, and it isn't fully buttoned up, so I can't tell you exactly what it is. I can tell you if, yeah, there's not a lot I can say other than we are working with housing on how we address it.
So
we will be compliant with inclusionary housing, but until we can wrap these up with housing, there's not a lot more I can really give concrete wise.
So I want to add that, so for the conditions of approval for the inclusionary housing ordinance requirements for this development is included in the, draft resolution.
Yeah, I understand. I want to know what they actually think is.
Oh, the actual.
Yeah, I know that, you know, there are different ways they can go, and all those have an impact to the project. That's why they are making these choices. I'd like to know where they are on those choices so that we can make a decision based on what this project will actually look like. That's all.
Sure. And Commissioner Cantrell, we won't know that tonight. And the applicant has to simply abide by the ordinance, which provides options. And this may get built in multiple years from now. And that's all going to be part of the thing, but they must adhere to the ordinance. Commissioner Alawalia?
Thank you. Continuing from Commissioner Lardenois' comments, I'd like to know how many of the 540 residential units there are 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom unit, number one. And do we have a community room or a meeting room in this building for the residents to enjoy?
Question for the applicant.
Ernie, do you have the stats readily available?
I'm gonna have to.
So maybe well, I can address the second question while you look
Yeah.
up the first.
Yeah,
if you
I
could.
mean, the 3 bedrooms, we essentially have 29 of those. But the 2 bedrooms, I'm gonna have to, because it's a mix of 2 bedrooms and dens and things like that. We still call them 2 bedrooms. I'll get that before we sign off here.
Great. Andrew?
So, yeah, to answer your question, which is about the amenity space, if
Mhm.
I understand. So there's 2 different areas where we're addressing it. One is in the lobby and within a mezzanine of the lobby where we're going to be offering a lounge space and a workspace for people to work from, not to get outside of their unit and actually join the community and the residents. The second area is on the rooftop where we'll have different meeting spaces, fitness spaces, and things like that. So there's going to be certainly a healthy options for amenity in the building.
And Andrew, that's all in calculation with the park fees you'll pay because you get credit for private open space?
Yeah.
Got it. Commissioner Alawalia?
Yeah, but would there be any space for festivities or functions, private
Yep,
functions
will
that the, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, not, well, private in the sense of for residents, but yeah, there will be function space on the rooftop.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I can answer the unit mix question. Let me share my screen for the sure. So can you see the unit mix here? The
Yes.
breakdown. So 5% studio, 75% 1 bedroom, and then 15% two bedroom, and then 5. I mean, you can see that. That is the unit mix.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that, Commissioner Alawalia?
No, thanks.
Great. Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, Chair. So thank you. My comments are, if you're accepting motions, I'd like to make a motion to approve this project. It fits all the criteria in terms of being mixed use, commercial and residential. It's putting something where there's a vacant building now and a couple storage units, and it's adding 500 residential units where there are none today, right? So whether they're affordable or not, it's going to impact the supply, which is of benefit to everybody. So I like the project, and if you're accepting motions, I'd like to make one.
Is there a second?
Second.
And that was?
Casey.
Yes, Casey, strong voice. Commissioner Garcia, any further comments on that motion?
And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Barroso?
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I have questions. A lot of good vocabulary has been brought up, I think, and I just need some clarity. So staff, one of the questions I have is about what qualifies as mixed. I know it is a mix of commercial residential, but the way that I see it here is that over about 600,000 would be residential, and 7,000, a little over just 1%, would be commercial. What would qualify a project to be considered mixed?
I think it's as long as it includes those 2 components. We don't, require like a specific number. How big the commercial areas to be in order to be qualified to call out as a mixed use development.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if I may follow up with a question around public comment.
Sure.
And I believe it was this one, Ms. Hawkins. Like you said, that there were three agencies that took the opportunity to take advantage of the open comment period. I noticed that there were agencies and not individual people. Does the city staff, is there some sort of policy or just some sort of, I don't know, like, is there something internal where there's not a lot of individual public comment, especially for a 30-story building coming out of the neighborhood? Is there something, is there some sort of action taken to try to solicit more feedback?
Hi, this is Kara Hawkins with the city's environmental review team. So typically for our EIR processes or even initial studies, basically whenever we're going to release a document for public comment, we have our standard procedures that we follow to get that document out. That includes sending to everyone on our listserv, which includes agencies, different jurisdictions, union groups, specific individuals that have been asked to be on that list. Additionally, it sends out via newsflash, which is the city's basically listserv for the general population's email. Any individual that signs up to get a notification for any planning project in the entire city was notified that this was going out. Addition to that, when these projects do come in, if we do receive individual requests from people that want to be updated as the project progresses, we add those to the list as well. Additionally, this was noticed through the newspapers. So anyone that reads the Mercury News or Post Record would have been able to see this project. So the short answer, or I guess the long answer to your question, is that we did follow just our standard protocols. If we don't receive a large outpouring of comments, and we have followed all those procedures, typically there's not much more else we can do because we're not sure who may be interested and who may not be. But it was sent out via the newspaper, our news flash, and via email to anyone that would have shown any interest in the citywide planning projects.
So staff, suffice it to say, you have a process for public outreach. This project complied with the process. And if there were comments from private citizens, those would have been in your review.
Correct.
That is correct. Mr. Chair, I also would like to add that there is a council policy specifically for public outreach, which is outside the environmental review process, but it also lays down all the requirements in addition to the environmental review, the deadlines and the schedule, so that the community members will be able to know what is going on. So we mail the notices to all residents and businesses within a quarter-mile radius or half-mile, or it could be more than that based on the size of the projects. And this project followed that exact process as Council Policy 6-30.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm pretty aware of the process and do not doubt that the outreach was done. Considering the size of the building with its surroundings, I just kind of felt perhaps a private citizen would have said something pro, for, against, I don't know, just some sort of feedback. But thank you for laying out all the procedures and all the processes. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I do like that it's LEED Platinum. I think this is one of the few projects that I've seen you LEED Platinum. So I think I congratulate you for that. I did want to know if you were doing any off-site improvements, as VTA said that they wanted the bus to be improved, the bus stop. Obviously, with the brand new building there, I would hope that you'd want to improve the bus station right in front of the building to make it attractive. So have you done that, or do you know if you want to do that?
Question for the applicant, is that correct?
Yes.
I assume you're going to have all new curb and gutter with a duck out for the bus stop, but let us know.
Actually, there's substantial improvements to both 2nd Street and San Salvador. We're going to be redoing the intersection of San Salvador and 2nd Street. We're going to be adding the citywide bike lanes to 2nd Street, as well as a new bus stop at that location. There's currently one there as well already. And then on San Salvador, we're doing some improvements also in the right of way relative to turn and radius of the, so all the new sidewalks and everything adjacent to the property will be redone.
Ernie,
Commissioner?
thank you. While I'm talking to you, Ernie, I mean, I did see a lot of greenery on the building. And so is that going to be installed? And do you have like an irrigation system for that?
Yep.
How will that be maintained?
Yep. Yeah, we've, so it's a project in itself. We have worked with the city on the plant types because I think everybody wants to be sure that they don't blow off the building or anything like that. But, and we have gone through the whole, OSHA protocol about how to maintain them after the fact with the access system, and the owners of the property will be maintaining the landscaping. So it's not going to be left to the residents. So yeah, it's intended to be green, in perpetuity. We're going to use recycled water both from the city as well as we have a black water system on site to recycle the wastewater and reuse that on site as well. And that will certainly be used with the landscaping needs of the building.
That's fantastic. I did see that you mentioned a play area for pets. As a mother of young kids, I'm looking for a play area for children. Do you have any play structure on site for children?
We don't specifically. I mean, they have, the open space, that we have, for the residents in general, but there isn't specifically a play structure. I think that Andrew, you probably can speak maybe to the profile, but I think that probably more of these are probably, working folks, although someone mentioned the 3-bedroom could be catering to families. So right now we don't have that. We could certainly, explore that. It's a very tight urban site, but we can certainly look at it.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Andrew, I would also highly suggest that you build some affordable units on site, just because San Jose State is so close by, and that would be a great benefit to students and faculty at San Jose State that would need affordable housing in walking vicinity to where they work. So I would highly recommend that, and think it would be a great idea, and you'd get some really good tenants that could benefit from that, both students and faculty from San Jose State. I think those are, I did have a question for Cara. Can you talk a little bit about this increased cancer risk from construction? What is that due to? Is that due to the underground parking? Where's that really coming from?
Hi, this is Kara Hawkins, Environmental Review Team. Yes, correct. The majority of that increased risk is directly related to the increased construction time period that it will take to do the underground garage excavation. Typically for projects like this, whenever there is a significant amount of excavation or below ground construction activities required, we do tend to see increased air quality impacts such as this.
So is there any mitigation measures? I'm concerned specifically of the construction workers working on site when all this debris is coming up. So is there any special mitigation measures? I mean, it seems like these workers are going to be have extended hours working till 10 p.m. Is there any signage, any like mask wearing, something to really protect the workers during that time?
Yes, we do have mitigation measures for air quality. Air quality has a variety of different components that we're looking at when it comes to like chemical exhaust. So all other aspects of air quality were able to be mitigated with things such as reducing the amount of idling required or allowed on site from the construction vehicles to 5 minutes or less, making sure that the sites are properly watered down, to prevent that dust from rising during the day and getting into people's lungs. Additionally, things like requiring certain tiers of engines to be used. That way the diesel exhaust that is coming out of those engines isn't as harmful as, you know, just the cheapest excavator that you can rent from wherever. So we do have pretty strict mitigation measures required for this project. Unfortunately, for the toxic air contaminants in particular are the only things that those mitigation measures are not able to address fully. So I hope that answered your question. If not, but yes, we do have a variety of mitigation measures to specifically for the residents that live in the area, as well as the construction personnel on site.
Yeah, and it looks like the Bay Area Quality Control Board had some additional mitigation measures. Is that correct? That they wanted included, were those included? Or
They
could
didn't.
be
They
included?
didn't have exact mitigation measures that they wanted included. They had recommendations for maybe additional things that we could look into, but nothing specific was pointed towards. We as the city rely on our technical sub-consultants to do that analysis because we are not technical experts. And the technical experts reported back that there was nothing else that was feasible that could be implemented to reduce that further. The only thing that could reduce that is to get rid of the extended construction period that was a direct result of the underground excavation. That's the only way to eliminate that impact.
Okay, good. Yeah, I just, okay, well, that's great. I also went to Bowtown a lot. I worked at the YWCA Rape Crisis Center on 3rd Street, so I'd walk over there, and it was pretty good. So I'm glad that you're keeping some of that heritage there. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And then Cara, just to be, those construction workers would be covered under Department of Industrial Relations, Cal OSHA. Their whatever work they would perform would be regulated by them and safety measures per the state.
Correct. There are a variety of state and local protection measures for construction personnel that were included in this document.
Great. Commissioner Rosario.
Yeah, I guess this would be for the applicant or maybe staff, but I noticed that the SEIR, the VTA, recommended that the project provide bicycle parking within the residential units. I was just curious as to whether bicycle parking was prohibited within the residential units.
Go ahead, Angela.
Yes, the project does include bicycle parking spaces per requirement, but let me check the detailed number. I can answer in softly.
I know that there's
Question.
173 spaces that is higher than the required 140, but I was just curious if you were allowed to park your bicycle inside your unit, like the VTA.
Or is it bike lockers or what is it? Yeah.
We actually have a bicycle club at the ground floor where not only can you park your bike and leave it and have a station for fixing your bike, we're also going to be stocking it with bikes that can be borrowed, both mechanical and electric bikes. And so all of that is to promote biking in lieu of driving your car. So there's going to be a big push towards biking to work or biking to the restaurant or bar, wherever you go. But it's not in the unit itself. It's actually on the ground floor where we have a whole area dedicated to it.
Right. But you are allowed to store your bicycle in your unit if you'd like, right?
I mean, you can store it in the unit. You know, we tend to not like that just because it makes things in the elevator really tricky for others trying to get up and down. We don't want to see it on the balcony just because it can be an eyesore for others, but it should be a lot easier parking in the bicycle club at the ground floor.
Any other questions, Commissioner Rosario?
That's all.
Okay, great. And moving on back through the loop again. Oh, actually, I wanted to make a comment. So staff, whenever we have a project presented of a high density in nature, is there ever a question of the project not complying with the Americans with Disabilities Act?
No, It's basically reviewed and enforced by the building department, and they have to meet those requirements.
Got it. Okay, and that's regardless of what floor you're on, right? Whether it's the first floor or the 17th floor.
That's right. I mean, there's a variety of ways to comply with it, but I don't know exactly what they are, but it is enforced by building.
Fair enough. And going back around, Commissioner Lardenois.
So I just want to revisit the inclusionary housing ordinance conversation. So just to reiterate from before, I'm aware that it's a requirement to get a certificate of occupancy. If a project doesn't comply with the ordinance, they can't rent out the units. But I just wanted to ask, I know that, because of that, projects aren't required to determine how they're going to comply until then. But I'm just curious to hear, what ideally do you want to do? Is your ideal situation that you'd like to have on-site affordable housing or off-site or paid in lieu fee? Just curious to hear about that.
We do have a combination throughout everything we do. In some of our other markets, like in Seattle, for example, we have 300 affordable housing units under construction right now. What I can tell you, and I don't want to talk about a future project, but you should see something in the coming months that now you start to understand our kind of vision for this neighborhood in not only addressing affordable housing, but supportive housing as well. And so I don't want to speak too much to that, but it is something that's really important to us. And, with it as a company, we have quite a few units under construction right now that are affordable housing. So it's not something we are afraid of. It's something we support.
Sure, I'm glad to hear that. And to be clear, like I'm going to vote in support of this project, but I'm just curious to hear about this project in particular, not about other plans you might have.
Yeah, it is I can't give you something concrete is kind of the extent of what I can say. Is we're looking at a host of different options, and I wish I could give you something concrete, but I can't. But I do want to point out that it's affordable housing is something we're very supportive of, and we build actively.
Okay, is that just because like you're still getting the fundraising in order, or not fundraising, the funding in order, or is there a reason that you're not able to even just kind of give a general idea of what you'd like to do?
Because it has to do with another project that we're working on, which involves state and state discussion. So I don't want to get too much into it, but we're looking at different options. I know that's not a great answer to give, and I hate giving it, but there's not much more I can give.
Okay. Now, thank you for clarifying a little more on that. I appreciate it. That's the end of my comments.
Thanks, Commissioner Lardenois. Hey, Andrew, applicant. In general, a developer that's building housing, does whoever gives them the financing that's willing to loan the money, whether it's a pension fund or a bank, do the terms of that funding determine whether or not units are built on site, or they choose to pay the inclusionary fee?
There may be some that require it. Everybody, has their all the lenders in general have different requirements of what they're looking for. Some may say if it's an opportunity, if you can, you have to do it. Others look at sustainability. You can't kind of take the pension funds. Every pension fund does their own thing, and every lender, especially on Wall Street, are looking at different things. So what I can tell you is there's like 50 different things you have to weigh in all of these projects to get them finalized and under construction. And there is a lot of support, and as everyone knows, there's a big push to address affordable housing, especially in California. So if there were the lender here, it would be easier to answer that, but there isn't like a general rule of thumb.
Great.
Just because they're all so different.
Commissioner Cantrell.
So Mr. Jacobson, can you tell me what the proposed budget is for this project?
The proposed budget? I
Yeah,
don't think we
the cost.
we didn't propose a budget.
So here's my problem. I'm sorry
yeah.
to cut you off.
No.
So this is a beautiful project. This would be additive to the downtown landscape. It would be a place that people could be very proud of for a number of reasons. You know, the LEED platinum, it's wonderful, but there's one big problem. And I would love to be able to approve a project like this. Affordable housing is key to our community. And without any formulation of what that will look like for our community, I think it should be very difficult for this body to move anything forward. So I understand where you're coming from. I understand the business concerns and problems, but I for one, and this is only me, I don't believe that all housing is good housing. I think some housing raises the cost of housing for people who are unhoused or underhoused. And I think this might be that type of project. So without any indication of what you are planning or may do, it is really hard to formulate a decision, at least for me personally. So, you know, if you could tell us anything, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, look, I certainly understand what you're saying, and you know, it's collectively the problem of our time, right? Like this is the thing where it's a generational problem that we're all tackling, and it's not an easy solution, as we can all see. If it were, we would have addressed it a long time ago. You know, what I can answer on this project and is we will comply with the policy for San Jose. What I can tell you is what you will be seeing in the coming months from us, and I know this isn't a great answer you want to hear related to this project, will be something we hope helps to show a model on how we can generationally move the needle, and a different model and approach of how we can not only address affordable housing, but supportive housing as well. And
I look forward to hearing that from you later, very much so.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
I just wanted to talk about just safety in the downtown core at night, and would request maybe some extra lighting on the ground floor just for, you know, women coming in and out at night from the building. So, and maybe security guards or, you know, something of that nature for the residents. And then another thing with the fact that the workers are going to be working till 10. I know in that area there's a lot of events, and I don't know where the construction workers and all the people are going to park at the same time for all these different events that are scheduled in that area. And sometimes when they close 2nd Street and they have some street festivals and whatnot, so there may need to be some coordination. Just want to make you aware of that. Okay, thanks.
Great. Commissioner Barroso.
Perfect, thank you. To follow up on Commissioner Cantrell's last question, I also agree with what he's saying. But just to kind of get an idea of the current standing process, when would, and I guess this is a question for staff, when would a good faith number or a good faith decision be presented by the applicant? Obviously, doesn't need to happen when it comes to us, although some projects have that already by the time it comes to us. But where's it formally supposed to be presented?
It's actually part of a written agreement that has to be recorded against the property prior to issuance of the building permit. So that's when it happens.
So Patrick, what you're describing then is after the Planning Commission and after the City Council vote.
That's right. That's what the ordinance requires. That's the ordinance that the city council has approved. And that's the city council's direction to developers in the form of that ordinance.
Thank you.
Okay, and is there an ordinance number if more research wants to be done?
Yes, I can provide that. I don't have it offhand, but I can certainly get it. And we can also send a link to the website that describes all those requirements.
Perfect, thank you. So,
Actually, I can give it to you now. It's the
okay,
ordinance
yeah.
is 28,689.
28,689?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I appreciate that, your quick research. So I guess if we ever want to be in a space where projects, all projects that come before the commission for a recommendation and advisory to the council, if we ever wanted to come with a commitment of what direction they're going to go in terms of affordable housing, and if they're going to pay the fee or not the fee or hybrid, it would have to be an ordinance change.
That's correct. City council, not commission.
Right. So they would have to tweak the language, some sort of amendment, some sort of process needs to happen at that level for the language to read something to the effect of that the commission should have that in hand, or at least part of the review process. So it
Right,
would
and
have to
part
happen
of
at
the
ordinance level.
deliberation of the city council in providing options was the awareness that projects may be entitled, but their financing may be years out. And they have to go work that out prior to the, as a staff member just said about the building permit, Patrick Kelly. As you may know, there are projects approved all over the downtown that have been approved long ago that haven't been built, but we've envisioned a dense downtown since the 1980s. And some of these projects will happen and some won't.
Right. So thank you. That is all the questions I have.
Okay, I thought I saw another hand up. Any other hands? None. Okay, the only comment I'd make on this project is I'm going to support it. And because my growing up in San Jose, I remember when the redevelopment agency visited my middle school and showed us what downtown was going to look like someday. And I can tell you, it's not even a third of the way there. And it's projects like these that are proposed. And if only 25% of them get built, our downtown and our city will be much better for matching that vision. I have no control whether they actually build, but I can certainly move things along that have been envisioned and are in our general plan and are scoped for a high density downtown. So thank you very much for making the motion, and we'll certainly be supporting it. So doing a roll call vote, Commissioner Lardenois?
Yes.
Commissioner Alawalia?
Yes.
Commissioner Barroso?
Is it possible to come back to me at the end?
Commissioner Barroso, please vote.
Abstain.
You cannot abstain, I don't believe.
Who would be able to?
City attorney, can you abstain?
No, you cannot. Unless you have a legal conflict of interest, you have to vote.
Okay, can I vote at the end?
Commissioner Barroso asking for your vote.
Is it possible to vote at the end?
I'm going to go straight in the line with the voting. If you would please cast a vote, yes or no.
Just legally, can I check in with Mark? Mark, is it okay to vote at the end?
That's a point of order for the chair to determine, so I have to defer to the chair on this.
Yeah, and I will continue in the motion. It's either going to vote a yes or no vote. There's no problem either way you vote. Just please cast a vote.
I like the project, but I'm going to have to vote no.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Cantrell?
I love the project. I wish people could live there who were not so wealthy. I'm going to have to say, without a clear understanding, or at least a projected understanding of what your intentions are, I'd have to say no.
Commissioner Casey?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
Commissioner Ornelas Wise?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosario,
Yes.
myself, yes. Please display the vote. Okay, we're moving on to item B, H21-026, site development permit, staff. Staff ready on item B?
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
My name is Reena Shah, Planning Project Manager. The project consists of a site development permit H21-026 to allow the construction of an approximately 75,285 square foot 4- and 6-story retail and office building with an off-site parking arrangement. And I'm just going to move the slide to.
If you want to go to full screen mode, Rena, it'd be a little bit larger.
Let's see.
Little projector down the bottom.
Oh,
Yeah, that works too.
that one? Okay. Let's see, does that work?
Now it's black.
Let me see if it's not working on this one, but.
Fair enough. Whatever works. It works just the same. It's just smaller.
Okay. And then, so I'll just start again. The project consists of a site development permit H21-026 to allow the construction of an approximately 75,285 square foot 4- and 6-story retail and office building with an off-site parking arrangement. The partial demolition of City Landmark building at 142 to 150 East Santa Clara Street, and the demolition of 2 buildings within the proposed building footprint at 130 to 134 East Santa Clara Street and 17 South 4th Street on an approximately 0.34 gross acre site. The project also consists of a historic preservation permit HP 21-005 to allow alterations to a city landmark building at 142 to 150 East Santa Clara Street, and the infill construction of a 6-story building on site. The site has a general plan land use designation of downtown, which supports high-intensity development, supporting transit ridership on VTA and BART. The project site is within DC Downtown Primary Commercial Zoning District. Office, retail, and off-site parking are allowed uses within the zoning district. The site is located on the southwest corner of East Santa Clara Street and South 4th Street intersection, and it's within the Downtown Commercial National Register Historic District. The site is also across from the proposed Icon Echo project on East Santa Clara Street and is also on tonight's Planning Commission agenda. It's also located northwest of Miro Towers and an approved residential condominium building to the south. The project was evaluated and is consistent with the proposed downtown land use designation, and also is within the DC primary commercial downtown district. The project conforms with all applicable development standards for the downtown primary commercial zoning district, and the project will enter into a parking agreement with city's DOT for 97 off-site parking spaces. The project design is consistent with the downtown design guidelines. Staff followed Council Policy 6-30, Public Outreach Policy, in order to inform the public of the proposed project. Let me put the proposed project. A notice of the public hearing was distributed to the owners and tenants of all properties located within 1,000 feet of the project site and posted on the city website. On-site signs were posted on the project frontages. The project was first heard at the Historic Landmarks Commission meeting on September 1st, 2021, under the early referral policy. A formally noticed community meeting with the environmental scoping was held on Thursday, September 15th, 2021, to introduce the proposed project to the community. The project will be formally heard at HLC on November 2nd, 2022. Now I will turn over to Environmental Project Manager Shannon Hill to discuss the environmental review for the project. Shannon?
Thank you, Rena. Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Shannon Hill, and I'm the Environmental Project Manager for the Suzako Mixed Use Project. As the lead agency, the City of San Jose prepared a supplemental environmental impact report, SEIR for short, so that's how I'll be referring to it for the rest of this presentation. And this is a supplemental EIR to the Downtown Strategy 2040 EIR in compliance with the requirements of CEQA. The draft SEIR was circulated for 45 days from June 27th, 2022 to August 11th, 2022. The draft SEIR identified potential environmental impacts that would be reduced to less than significant with mitigation incorporated for cumulative construction air quality, nesting migratory birds, disruption of hazards and hazardous materials due to historical use of the site, construction noise and vibration, and previously undocumented historic era and Native American archaeological resources. In addition, the draft SEIR found that the project would result in a significant and unavoidable impact to cultural resources due to the demolition of the interior, roof, and west and south walls of the building at 142 to 150 East Santa Clara Street. That the project would cause a substantial adverse change in the significance of a designated city landmark, and mitigation measures to be adopted for the proposed project would not reduce this impact to less than significant. Significant and unavoidable impacts were also identified for land use and planning in the draft SEIR because the project would not comply with general plan policies related to historic preservation, such as those for preservation of city landmarks. And the project as proposed is inconsistent with the 2003 Historic District Guidelines and Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation as they relate to the designated city landmark at 142 to 150 Santa Clara Street. During the 45-day public review and comment period, staff received 5 written comment letters on the environmental document. And the main concerns raised by the commenters were the lack of mitigation measures to minimize identified impacts to a designated city landmark, impacts to the San Jose Downtown Commercial National Register Historic District, non-compliance with general plan policies adopted for the purpose of protecting historic resources, cumulative impacts to historic resources, bird safety due to potential collision with the proposed building, balancing general plan development goals with historic preservation, and concurrent construction of downtown projects and related coordination. Staff addressed all comments received in the First Amendment to the draft SEIR, which is posted on the city's active environmental EIR's planning page under the Suzako Mixed Use Project subpage. More details to the points raised in the comment letters received during public circulation can be reviewed in the First Amendment to the SEIR. As part of the SEIR process for CEQA compliance, 4 project alternatives were identified to the proposed project, including a location alternative, which was considered but rejected, the no development alternative, which is a required alternative for all projects requiring an EIR, preservation alternative 1 for relocation of 142 to 150 East Santa Clara Street building, which was also considered but rejected, and preservation alternative 2 which involves complete retention of the city landmark building at 142 to 150 East Santa Clara Street. And this is the alternative identified as environmentally superior. Does the Planning Commission recommend to City Council to approve the proposed project? The City Council must adopt a statement of overriding considerations with findings that the specific economic, legal, social, technological, or other benefits, including region-wide or statewide environmental benefits of the proposed project, outweigh the unavoidable adverse environmental effects if the environmentally superior alternative is not chosen. None of the comments received identified any substantive inadequacies in the draft SEIR or new previously unidentified significant impacts that would require recirculation. And that concludes this portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Shannon. The project, as
Thank
discussed,
you.
the project, as discussed before, is consistent with the general plan, the zoning code, and applicable city council policies. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend to City Council to certify the SEIR, to adopt the resolutions, and approve the site development permit and the historic preservation permits. This concludes staff presentation. The project applicants are Ted McMahon from Bayview Development and Steve Stenton from RMW Architects. Please promote them and they can provide further information on the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Rena. Thank you, Shannon. Are the applicants promoted?
What is the applicant's name, Rena?
Ted McMahon and Steve Stenton. Let's see if I see them.
I see a Bayview Development Group on there.
I see a Steve S. Is that?
There you go.
We see it. We see a presentation.
Good evening. Hopefully, I'm glad you can see it. This is Ted McMahon with Bayview Development. And
Ted,
Steve
before you
Stenton.
start, is it just you, or are you going to split time with another speaker?
I was going to split time with Steve Stenton from RMW. I'll go for about 2.5 minutes and give
That's
Steve
what-
another 2.5.
Just want to make sure Steve is on.
Yep, that makes sense. Let me know when that is the case, please.
Sure. Steve promoted.
Yeah, I promoted Steve S. Hopefully that's the right one.
Hey, Steve, can you give us an audible?
Yep, that's
Great.
me. Thanks.
Okay, go Ted.
Super. Thank you very much. I appreciate the commission's willingness to take the time to look at this, and I appreciate staff's time to help us get to this point. We've been working on it for a little over 4 years to try to bring this to what you see today.
You on mute?
Yeah, I don't think he knows he muted him, so.
Yeah, he did. Staff, can you unmute him?
Sorry, apologies.
Okay, there you
Here
go.
we go
Back
again.
you are. Slide 2, go for it.
Thank you. 3 concepts I would like to put forward for you. One, I believe this project will help revitalize a block that's had some challenges over the last few decades. It's a balanced concept which brings economic viability with a degree of preservation that we believe strikes the right balance. It is sustainable over the long term, which I will touch on momentarily. There we go. Staff's already covered that fairly clearly. This is the block in question. You'll recognize the Hotel Clariana. I think most folks are familiar with this. Is across from City Hall, as Rena pointed out. The buildings in question are on the left here. This has been a rough block for some time, but over the last 8 weeks in particular, we've had 4 different police raids on the neighboring building at the Houdini's smoke shop. or actually the doorway next to it. Police have been very engaged, but it sort of gets at the level of challenges that this block has been facing. And we're hoping to be able to stitch this block back together with sort of the rest of downtown. This data we pulled from a 30-day period from September through mid-October. It's just a comparison of how the built environment can help impact crime and quantity of crime and type of crime. This particular part of downtown has had issues both that are more violent and more drug related. You know, reference the previous slide. There's some fairly significant change coming to this neighborhood, and I think most of it's going to be positive. This corner already has two of the tallest buildings that exist in downtown San Jose presently. We are hoping this is going to bring more vitality and more activation. And our project is comparatively modest with the other projects that exist, including City Hall and Miro and Echo Icon, which you'll see. Our corner is where that orange block is. We look nationally and internationally for examples of good combinations of historic and new that brought revitalization neighborhoods. This happened to be our favorite. It was the Restoration Hardware Hotel Restaurant in the Meatpacking District in New York, which had interesting history of its own. Coming back to those concepts, street level activation and public safety improvement being the result. Hopefully, folks will take a look at the thoughtful design that will hopefully drive employment and economic redevelopment in this area, taking into account that we tried to be modest, to be respectful of the historic neighborhood. And then the cross-laminated timber has high embodied carbon, and we are going to be under the REACH code. I'm going to leave the rest of it to Steve Stenton. Thank you.
Can we pause real quick? Are you seeing a timer on your side?
I am not, but I calced myself at 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So I'm over by about 30 seconds from where I wanted to be.
Yeah, I just think it'd be helpful for the applicants to know how much time they have. And so if they don't do it themselves, but go ahead.
Sorry, I can't show it while they're sharing screen. That's why you don't see it.
Understood. Thank you.
All right, I'll do my best to keep it quick here. So we see this project as an opportunity to revitalize and re-energize this neighborhood in this area of the downtown core. And this proposed 6-story mixed-use project includes office space on the upper floors, restaurant and retail space planned for the ground floor, with the ground floor space supporting the activation and pedestrian experience at the street level along Santa Clara. And there are also activated roof terrace lounges on top of the building that overlook Santa Clara and 4th Street. And then with the importance of the existing 2-story historic landmark brick building on this corner site, the project proposes to maintain the historic facades along 4th Street, Santa Clara Street, including the repair and rehabilitation of these facades, which will be done in a manner consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. And these standards also require that the new construction be compatible but differentiated from the historic elements being retained, and so we've been sensitive to this requirement. And the materiality of the new proposed building design includes a clean, elegant glass skin facade, which will be set back from the existing 2-story facade below, and even further set back at the 3rd level to honor the roof line and the street presence of the existing building facades. Now, the existing or the extent of the glass in the north and the east elevations allows for great daylight and views for the space while minimizing heat gain due to orientation. And the structure itself is unique in that it's proposed to be mass timber. And we'll touch more on that in just a moment. Next slide, please. So the site sits at the east end of the historic district and is situated within an area that includes several existing and proposed high-rise buildings. Next slide, please. Here's a shot we've seen before, but it's the existing street with our site on the far left and Claria on the far right. And then this is the proposed new project, and it maintains the low-rise scale of the block and holds the corner at this end of the historic district. Next slide, please. So mass timber is very sustainable material, and we felt it was a perfect fit for this building. So using mass timber is in part a reflection and nod to the existing structure of the building that will be removed, but also is important to the carbon story, where we look to reduce carbon emissions in our buildings. And in addition, it's a beautiful material that we intend to expose as an architectural feature in the finished building design. Next slide. And then finally, here's a shot looking down Santa Clara towards City Hall, which gives a good overall of both the 4- and 6-story portions of the building. Next slide. I think that's it. You can sit here. Thank you.
Thank you. And you'll have 5 minutes afterwards. And I'd love some of these renderings. They look very attractive. If I could get those at some point sent to the commission or whatever. All right. So staff, any comments here, or do you want to go to public comment? I guess we'll go to public comment. I see 2 hands. I see Paul Soto and Patrick. And I see Ryan and Mike.
Yes, Paul Soto for the Horseshoe. As a Native American who can trace their lineage back to 1767 and the building of the first mission in California, the Mission San Diego, you're liable when those dozers go into the ground, you're going to dig up some Native Americans. That's exactly what's going to happen, and that's exactly what they fear because they know it's in that area. Okay, that happened with the Holiday Inn way back in the days, long before you guys were around. That's number one. Number two, you got a lot of nerve leading with crime. Okay, you're not a sociologist, man. If you want to be a sociologist instructor, go to a college or something like that. But don't come to my city and trying to lead with crime unless you want to deal with the sociological perspectives and the sociological conditions that contribute to crime. Okay, unless you want to go there, then we'll go there. But don't come into these meetings leading with crime. Okay, and your fear mongering. Really, I think that's beneath you, man. You know, you need to take that someplace else. Secondly, is that what I'd like to talk about is, as a point of order, Chair, when commissioners are speaking, I need to hear from them fully and let them complete their sentences and let them tell you that they're done. What you've been doing throughout this meeting is bullying people. You have been interrupting the commissioners when they're speaking, and the commissioners are representations of the community. And I'm the community. I don't sit here. I'm not sitting here looking for your clarifications. I come to this meeting so that I can hear from the different commissioners and their different perspectives. And you're preventing that process by your interruptions. Because on 2 occasions, Cantrell and Rocio are trying to speak and they're trying to articulate their positions as commissioners because they got the floor. And what you're doing is you're interrupting. Now, I'm trying to say this as politely as I can, and I'm not a very polite person. I'm very blunt, very direct. I don't have time for niceties. I don't have time for that. People are dying on the street. People are dying as a result of this crime that Homeboy wanted to point out. Okay, so all of this construction and everything that's going on has a sociological impact. Why don't you start articulating that? And its impact on these barrios, on the impact on, and not only that, the impact on the historical significance of these buildings. Because when you take out a roof, you've ruined the integrity of its historical value.
Are you calling the name?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, Patrick's here next. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Patrick, if you could unmute your device.
Maybe go on to the next person.
Okay, Ryan.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Ryan Globus. I live in San Jose. I'm also on the VTA Citizens Advisory Committee, but I'm speaking on behalf of just myself. And I just wanted to commend the project. I think recently there's a lot of focus on adding housing near transit, but not enough focus on adding offices and retail and destinations near transit as well. So it's exciting to see this project in a very transit-rich neighborhood. You have access to tons of buses, the light rail, the 500 will take you to BART and to Caltrain. The 17 bus will even take any commuters coming from Santa Cruz. So it's really great to see this and that it keeps the historical facade. That's it for me. So please support the project. If anything, I'd like it to be taller, but if this is the best we can do, given the historical constraints, this would still be a good project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike.
Thank you, commissioners. Let me just start. This is Mike Sodergren, Preservation Action Council. We've commented on this project from the very beginning. Let me just start by saying these words slow. This is a city landmark building within a downtown commercial national historic district that we are going to demolish. These are buildings that we're going to demolish that apparently have, that these honorary titles provide no protection from. We've met with the developers and we do consider their design to be good. It is compatible and differentiated from the facade that they will leave behind. It is not consistent with the street wall between 3rd and 4th, but I think I just would like to emphasize this. The term is used quite flippantly, significant, and most importantly, unavoidable. PAC would like to suggest that no demolition is unavoidable. It is only unavoidable in the sense that project goals and objectives are set to where it is not, they're not able to be met without demolishing the building. And so it's a pre-prescribed demolition that there is no way to argue around. Do we need high-end commercial office space when much of it is not accounted for and much of it that's been entitled has not been built? The question that I have is the theory that a building will fix crime is, well, I'm not sure that that's really something that we could count on. This building, this project eliminated affordable housing in what was a true mixed-use building beforehand. The restaurant that was down below is out. The tenants that lived upstairs that served us are out. Re-energizing, revitalizing a neighborhood takes people that live there, not people that are pulling down $250,000 a year, but people that are serving us. I would ask that the commission consider the gravity of allowing this with the cumulative impact of all the other projects that are scheduled to happen both within this district, the St. James Historic District, and other areas of San Jose. This is a project that, in all due respect to the developers, it's a beautiful design. It should not demolish a historic building. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands. Do you, staff?
No, I'm gonna unmute Patrick again just to see if he'll unmute. Patrick, you're unmuted.
Nothing.
Okay, yeah. He's done.
All right, well, then we'll go back to the applicant to, you have 5 minutes to cover anything you want based on public feedback or anything that the council has, commission has not heard from you yet.
Let's see. Thank you for all the comments and the feedback. Appreciated. We're certainly, we've had various discussions with PAC SJ. I'm aware of Mr. Sodergren's opinion of the final outcome. I understand he comes to this opinion, from a very genuine place, and I appreciate that. I think I would counter with, at some point, extreme preservation impedes vitality and revitalization. In some cases, we are hoping that if we are successful to revitalize this corner, it hopefully raises the chances of viability from some other. Yeah, I think I will leave it at that. Happy to answer other questions from the commission.
And no other comments from your colleague?
Steve, is there anything you would like to add?
No, I guess want to reiterate, the importance I think that this project will bring, to this community, to this neighborhood. I really do think that, there is an opportunity for re-energizing and revitalizing, and I think this is a great opportunity for that. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll go to commissioner questions. Commissioner Lardenois?
Sure. So just a question for staff. I wanted to clarify. It was mentioned in the presentation that the Historic Commission is going to have a hearing on this at next month. They haven't met on this yet?
That's correct.
Okay. Is it, I mean, not that there's necessarily an order of precedence or anything, but like, under normal circumstances, would they hear a project before us?
Yes, Commissioner Ladino, under normal circumstances, that is what has been happening. However, for scheduling purposes, it made sense to bring this first because the next historic preservation hearing is next month.
Okay.
And Planning Commission meets twice a month. Historic preservation is only once.
Understood. Right. Okay, yeah, understood. And I know that, you know, when it comes to scheduling, there's only so much you can do. Just was curious about that because about a month ago, we had a project that also had a historic preservation question, and having the commission's feedback available to us was valuable. And I also just want to say I appreciate that the design of this project includes, rather preserves the facades of the existing buildings. I think that's a really, you know, interesting choice on how to preserve that history and character. And I just want to touch on what was brought up in public comment about how the applicant presentation addressed crime. I think all of us know on this commission that Santa Clara Street has a lot of challenges, and crime is one part of that. But I guess I found it kind of tasteless how it was presented in this presentation, particularly comparing apples to oranges, showing a very different part of downtown, and how, and saying that means that, this kind of development is going to have a significant impact on crime in this area. I don't know if it will or not. I do think more economic vitality in this area is good, but I guess I would ask the applicant to please be more thoughtful about how you talk about those kinds of issues in the future. I think that's the end of my comments for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cantrell.
I'm curious. So what happens when the Historic Commission meets and they say they hate this project? We're already done, right?
Staff?
So Commissioner Cantrell, the Historic Landmark Commission does not make decisions. They make recommendations to City Council. So whatever recommendation they make will be packaged in addition to your recommendation to City Council.
Okay, so it's unfortunate that we don't get to hear that, but I get the process. And I don't want to pile on, but I take the bus, the VTA, through this neighborhood, and this building would certainly be a welcome site in this community on my bus trip, on the way to work in the morning. But to be honest, I don't see all the crime you're talking about. I know things happen, I'm sure of it, but I think that was an unfortunate lead, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ornelas-Wise.
Hello. I love the design. I love the integration of the old with the new. I think it's we have to do like a delicate balancing act when it comes down to historical preservation. I'm a San Jose girl, born and raised, and love my history in San Jose. I know that the city of San Jose was the first capital of California, and that the historic district downtown, I just have a lot of good memories as a child walking along there with my mom in particular. And so, as much as I love the design, I'm really trying to wrap my head around the totality of the demolition of some of the other buildings that the frontages of some of the other existing buildings that will be removed. The other buildings that are kind of like inside the block, what are those currently used for? What's the current use, the existing use? Rena?
They are currently commercial below, and I believe they have one residence on the upper floor. So this particular building, total residential units would be 11 that will be removed.
So it's displacing 11 folks.
11 apartment buildings, but they are vacant currently. So they have been vacant for over a year.
Okay. And what about businesses? Are they going to be displacing some businesses as
The
well?
businesses are also vacant currently. Even 4th Street Pizza has moved out, so it's vacant.
Yeah, I'm sure, you know, due to COVID, that also
Mhm.
had something to do with it. And based on the staff report, it looked like a historic preservation permit would be required.
Mhm.
Can someone tell me what that historic preservation permit would entail?
Yeah, I will defer that to Dana. Dana, she's our historic preservation officer.
Good evening, Commissioners and Commissioner Ornelas Wise. I'm Dana Peak. I'm the Historic Preservation Officer for the city. As has been previously discussed, the Historic Preservation Commission will make a recommendation to the City Council on the Historic Preservation Permit on November 2nd. The Historic Preservation Permit, basically the project needs to conform to the adopted standards and guidelines under the Historic Preservation Ordinance and to meet the spirit and purpose of the ordinance. Staff findings are that it does not meet the standards and guidelines, which is why there's a significant impact that's disclosed in the environmental impact report. The Historic Preservation Ordinance has a provision, hardship, of which the Historic Landmarks Commission will also be considering. Structural, and I'm sure that the applicant can comment further on this, but structural and economic hardship is what is being requested. And the commission will be opining on whether they believe there's sufficient evidence to make that finding. If a hardship is proved, then the historic preservation permit can be issued.
So the project without the historic preservation permit, this project cannot move forward. Am I correct?
It's a bundle, yeah, just like any other package for a development approval. It's a bundle of permits, yes.
Okay, so then the historic preservation permit would be required as part of this application.
That's correct. So it has two historic statuses that were analyzed in the EIR. One is that it's a contributing building to this National Register district, and it's also an individual designated city landmark, which is why the historic preservation permit is required.
Okay, thank you, Dana. I appreciate that. Just on some of the design, I also wanted to know a little bit about, you know, the glass that's being put on the structure on the corner, just the glare from, you know, if those windows were like glare resistant, or, you know, so the glass doesn't glare onto the street. What else was I gonna say?
Is that a question for staff or the applicant?
For the applicant.
Is the applicant still on?
The applicant is still on. This would be a Steve Stenton question, as he's the architect. Steve.
Yeah, happy to answer that, Sylvia. So the glass is specifically not going to be. We don't want to go with any reflective type of glass, and so that solves and helps support a number of things. One of which I think is your point, you know, of reflectivity. And so I know it's a short and simple answer, but yeah, we're intending to provide a glass that's not reflective. That has a very low level of reflectivity.
And you know, given that there was an earthquake yesterday, and that you're only proposing to retain the facade on like the corner there, you know, I'm sure that it's earthquake safe, right?
Yeah, so I know, what timely question for a 5.1 here just the day before. So the intent is, you know, the building is going to fall under the new code, so that'll be cycled through after the first of this year, and so it'll be compliant to all structural and code compliant requirements. And as a part of that, the facade itself, so these two faces of the building that are going to remain are going to be integrated into that structural system. So the improvements and structural security of those two facades will be part of the compliancy for the code of this building, structural code.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Rosario.
Oh yeah, the only question I had going back to the crime portion of the presentation was I didn't notice anything in the project documents associated with that. Was that just speculative? Like there'd be less crime if 4th Street Pizza was removed and office spaces were put in?
I think that's for the applicant.
If that's for the applicant. So I would like to sort of apologize. I'm trying to take a relatively complex topic and jam it into 2.5 minutes. So I feel like I was inartful in my explanation of how an improved built environment should activate the street, bring more. That activation hopefully should lead to a public safety improvement. That's kind of the concept. The public safety environment has been challenging, and that's not probably something that would bear getting into. But one of the primary, I'll stop there because I don't want to make it a public safety discussion. But yeah, conceptually, decades of deferred maintenance has yielded buildings that have degraded to a point where they're not as economically viable as they once were. And revitalizing it hopefully will revitalize the broader block, bring activation and moms and strollers, or it tend to be sort of a la Hayes Valley in San Francisco, tend to be really good for public safety. So that's kind of what I was getting at. So again, apologies for an inartful explanation.
Oh, thank you very much. I certainly understand.
Any other questions, Commissioner Rosario? No. One quick question for applicant and staff, or maybe even the historic person from the city. From what I understand, the facade, the brick structure of the 2-story building from the public view, all of that will be maintained. However, during the construction, interior walls or back walls may be removed. Is that correct?
That's largely correct. What will be changed on the facade is the proposal is to remove the original stucco cladding to reveal the brick.
Got it. Okay, great. I appreciate that. I think there were potentially that some of this was getting knocked down when I don't think that's what was in the rendering or the staff report. Okay, Commissioner Garcia.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I'm not a design expert, but I do have concerns about the lack of the contrast between the old and the new is far too great, in my opinion. And when we're talking about demolishing, even if it's 2 walls in the roof of a historic building, it seems to me there should be a compelling reason to do it. And I don't know that replacing vacant retail with more retail is a compelling reason. So I don't support this as it stands today. And that's my input.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Garcia.
Commissioner
Barocio.
Perfect. Thank you. So I appreciate my fellow commissioners bringing up and public comment their thoughts on how the applicant led. And I do appreciate, and I know your name, Mr. McCannon, your revisiting of that. I appreciate that. It is tricky, right? The theories involved in architecture, right? I think what I hear the applicant say is a broken glass theory, right? If there's a broken glass in the neighborhood, doesn't get fixed, more will pop up like mushrooms. I mean, so there's a lot of reasons for that, right? funding, culture, ordinances, right? So there's just a lot that contributes to that. So being sensitive to that would definitely be appreciated. At the same time, it is like the rendering. If we can bring up the rendering, I understand it to go around a building that's not part of the project. It's sort of like a building that probably just didn't sell or wasn't asked to sell. But is it true that it wraps around an existing building that won't be touched?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Okay. And in the rendering, I think I'll be able to better articulate the question. But is it the part not along 4th Street, but the one on Santa Clara? Is that the building that possibly could get taken out? Because I see in the rendering that on top of the corner property, it looks like that's going to get something on top of it, but tucked into Santa Clara Street, like on the other side of the building that's not going to get touched. That sort of seems like that is going to be a new building. Can you clarify that for the applicant?
Yep. And Steve, if you'd like to add something, but so I believe the direct answer, I put the image up. I hope you can see it. It shows the 130 East Santa Clara building, which is the other part of the horseshoe.
Sorry, we can't see it. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I had I don't know if I can share again. So I'll try to explain it verbally. So you are correct. It does wrap. So where it is currently 130 East Santa Clara Street and 2 stories would become 4 stories, and the building would go around the one in the middle. I apologize if I'm not getting at your question.
Does Rena have the rendering? Does staff still have the PowerPoint that maybe is a little bit more visually descriptive what Mr. McMahon is sharing verbally? Does that help?
Yes, perfect. So that building, so on the right there, like that tall building where the cursor is going up and down, is that, it's kind of hard to tell with the trees in the way, but is that also intended to go on top of the existing building, or is that structure going to be new from ground up?
That building is fully removed.
Okay, so is that sort of what the historical conflict or the historical question is that building, along with what may happen with the brick building, but is that more of the historical challenges that are being raised that building will be demolished and built up again?
I will give you the applicant's opinion, and I apologize. I'm sorry if that's a question to staff.
I think I understand that. This is Rina Shah again. So the main HP permit that is triggering is that this is the landmark building at 142 to 150 East Santa Clara Street. The corner facades will stay, but the facades that we cannot see from street view will be demolished, and interior of this building will be demolished in order to have the overall 6-story. It's adding 4-story here of the building, and it is set back from the East Santa Clara Street facades. This building was found to be non-historical building, even though, and there is one more building which is inside here, which has a shared driveway access through here. And those 2 buildings will be demolished, which were found to be non-significant to the historic district. So this one is not in the historic district, but this one was, but they were found to be non. So that does not trigger HP permit. The HP permit is basically because it's touching the city landmark building.
Thank you for the clarity. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the commission? And for the applicant, I thought during the process or maybe it was during the staff presentation, when it talks about adaptive reuse and that it wants the new construction to be very different than the existing. Who said that earlier?
So I believe Steve Stenton flagged that in the Secretary of the Interior standards, one of the methods to comply. Again, I'm not necessarily the best person to answer, but I'll give you my layperson's understanding. One of the ways that the Secretary of the Interior standard allows you to comply is to create a high contrast design to allow the historic to stand out and allow the historic to sort of pop relative to the other. And you will see it not infrequently in examples that we looked at globally and nationally, where you will have somewhat of a glassy box against a historic structure because it creates that significant contrast and in theory highlights the historic building.
Yeah, that reminds me of I think it's the Bundestag in Berlin, where you have a building that's much, much older than what we have here, and then a modern glass architecture on the top. So I get the contrast, right? Because you're not trying to, add on square footage to make it look the same. You're actually calling it straight out that this is an adaptive reuse and adding something different to it. So just wanted to understand that. Commissioner Ornelas-Wise?
Yeah, I just want a clarifying question for Rena. You mentioned that the other, I don't remember what, the other building that's kind of like in the middle of the block, that it wasn't found to have any historical significance. Can you explain why?
There was I can defer to Dana if you'd like to take that question, Dana.
When the district was designated and listed in the National Register, it was identified as a non-contributing building. It is originally an early building, but it had been significantly altered over the course of time and was no longer eligible for its architectural characteristics.
Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you. And
one question for myself for a historic resource from planning. When a historic building has adaptive reuse and that's depicted here or is depicted elsewhere, how does that recognition continue or change?
I don't know that I would classify this project as adaptive reuse because the interior is being demolished. So I would make that distinction that this is really not adaptive reuse.
So would you say this is similar to Plant 51 down the street on the Alameda, where the city funded that project, where it retained the facade of the building as additional square footage was added to the top?
I don't know what the implications were. I didn't administer that project, but essentially when we have a designated city landmark and a historic preservation permit is required, we have to analyze the project for conformance with the adopted standards and guidelines. And so essentially saving two facades is not preserving the building or adaptively reusing the building. Certainly there are programs like in San Francisco where you can retain a facade. Generally, those types of programs are utilized on buildings that are not landmarks, but in order to keep the historic, just the general fabric or context of an area, but it's not considered historic preservation per se.
Okay, thank you. I just was familiar with Plant 51, which is across from the Whole Foods on the Alameda, which the city subsidized back when we had a redevelopment agency, and they kept the facades and brick as the development was built in the interior and above it. So I think that's somewhat in the ballpark of at least what's being addressed here. So Commissioner,
It's the same concept, yeah.
So Patrick Kelly, you concur?
Yeah, it's the same concept, yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ornelas-Wise?
Yeah, talking about the interior of the building that will be demolished or is proposed for demolition in this historic landmark, what is the condition of the interior at this time? I mean, does it hold that value, the historic value in there? Dana?
I'll be deferring it to applicant also, and Dana.
That's not going to respond. I believe that the consultants Page and Durnbull did do a walkthrough and analysis of the inside. And as I recall, there had been quite a few, and correct me if I'm wrong, applicant, there have been quite a few alterations. So I don't believe there's very little, if any, is integrity to the interior.
Yeah, and just a quick chime in, that's accurate. Correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So for, earlier there was a citing of the Secretary of the Interior's standards and whatnot. And if I'm reading this correctly, there's 10 standards that are required, and it does not meet 5 of the standards. So, again, as it stands today, the historic committee hasn't reviewed this yet, and with a 50% report card, I'd have to make a motion to reject and not recommend approval at this time.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further comments on the motion? Commissioner Garcia?
No, I think just, that's, again, I think it would be prudent to have the Historic Preservation Committee look at it before we make a recommendation to approve it. And so that's why I made my motion. Thank you.
Understood. Any other comments from the commissioners at large? Okay, then I guess we'll do a roll call vote. I'm going to be voting against the motion. I think providing an opportunity for this type of reuse in a land constrained downtown is very interesting. We won't always have vacant parcels, and there may be opportunities to add on, but don't do it in a respectful way. And I think respectful is to the general populace that's looking at the outside facade, much like which was done at Plant 51 down the street, which was again subsidized by the city. And so I appreciate the motion, but I'll be voting against it. Comments, Commissioner Casey.
Yeah, so I'm just to address, I think, what the historical concern was. So from my understanding, to your point, Chair, there weren't any significant historical value, or isn't any historical value internally based on the changes that were made. So I'm not sure why the historical piece is the sword we would die on in order to reject this project. And I'm also in favor of it, given the impact it would have on that corner and our city. But I'm not square on why anyone would reject this based on a historical perspective.
Yeah, I'm not, for me, it's, Commissioner, I think sometimes when you look at architecture, you go, wow, that is really an attractive building. And that may not be a reason to approve anything, but at least when it's backed up by a staff recommendation to approve it, I feel better about my personal opinion. But on the other topic, I can't speak on. Commissioner Lardon-Watt?
Yeah. So I know we've had a little back and forth on the Secretary of the Interior standards for treatment of historic properties. Just to be clear, is that a legal requirement that projects must comply with? Or if staff could clarify that.
It's just part of the historic preservation permit process, which aligns with the adopted historic preservation ordinance and historic preservation general plan goals and policies. But certainly, as a planning commission, your purview is a lot greater than the purview of the Historic Landmarks Commission, which is specifically to look at conformance with those standards and guidelines and goals and policies. So you, like the City Council, are probably taking a broader position, as you should. So while it's one of the goals and policies in the general plan. And conformance is required for the permit, but there's also hardship provisions in the ordinance that would allow the approval of the permit.
Thank you for clarifying that. And I touched on this in my comments earlier. I do wish that we had the feedback of the Historic Landmarks Commission already available, but they're an advisory body and so are we. I mean, if it was a project where, say, we were hearing an appeal and this was going to be the final vote on a project, maybe I'd say, yeah, let's wait and get that input. But I feel comfortable voting on this project to approve it or to recommend approval of it. The Historic Landmark Commission will have their feedback, and I trust that the City Council is going to take both of those and make a good decision. So I will also be opposing the motion that's currently on the table.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Robert Manford?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to reiterate and also follow up with what Commissioner Ladino said. The Historic Landmark Commission, their purview is the historic preservation component of this entire project and also the process. So whatever their recommendation is will be included in what today's recommendation will be from this panel. So just in the same way that when a project goes through the CEQA process and there is a significant unavoidable impact, there is a path for approval based on statement of overriding considerations. There is also a provision, as Dana indicated, in our historic preservation permit process, where even though a project may have impacts on historic resources, it could be approved based on certain requirements. And this applicant has met that in terms of the hardship provision. So everything that is said here and the vote will be included in what the HLC also provides or recommends, and it goes to City Council, and they will have to vote on the entirety of the project, but not only one component. They will balance the benefits of the project with its impacts to historic resources in addition to any other environmental impact. And as it stands, the EIR also identifies historic impact as one of the unavoidable significant impacts. So I just wanted to put that in perspective for the panel and for the commission.
Thank you, Robert.
Perhaps for some additional perspective that staff may not have brought through initially that we could have emphasized more too, is that the general plan has policies that sometimes cannot all be achieved at the same time. This project is in an employment overlay district for downtown, given its location next to the BART station, which is less than 2 blocks away as planned. And so downtown, as identified or analyzed in the staff report, has goals supporting intensive use in downtown as well. And so staff always recommends the commission balance, go through the balancing act of balancing goals against each other in the general plan. They don't all have to be met all the time. There's always a balancing act when it's not feasible to meet all the goals together.
Hey, Patrick, so are you saying then, like when you're looking at American Planning Association or other professional planners, that densification of a downtown around transit, if you're, don't have land, then the only place to do it is to go denser, and that might be on a building that's significantly older?
That's right. So, yeah, I mean, downtown or the general plan has historic preservation goals and policies, and it also has economic development policies. And so there is, as the historic preservation officer described, a process whereby if the rehabilitation of the building in order to make it a viable project is infeasible for whatever reason, if it's structural upgrades that have to take place that are going to end up altering the characteristics of the building anyway, to take away its significance, and that's what the engineering report kind of talks about would occur with this project to make it a viable project. financially, then there is that, way of having a hardship finding. So to enable the commission and the city council to balance goals of the general plan.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from commissioners? Otherwise, I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Lardon-Watt? And just hang on a sec, just understand the motion on the table is to deny the project. So, or actually opposing staff position. So Commissioner Lardon-Watt?
No.
So that's a no vote, yes? Commissioner Alawalia?
No.
Nope. Commissioner Barosio?
Yes.
Commissioner Cantrell?
I'm actually going to change my vote in light of what Mr. Kelly said, actually. That would have been helpful to know ahead of time. So I'm actually going to say no to this, even though I did second it, but thank you.
And you have the right to do that. You can second motions for fun. Commissioner Casey?
No.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
Commissioner Nellis Wise?
No.
Commissioner Rosario?
I had a quick question, Chair. Is there a significant difference if we made a substitute motion rather than voting to decline?
Well, I don't know if it's not so much, but I don't think you can do a substitute motion during the roll call. But ultimately, substitute motions are allowed.
Okay, then I vote no.
You vote no, and then I vote no. So that motion fails. So now we would look for an alternative motion. Maybe it might be to approve it. I don't know, but that's got to come from someone on the commission here.
I'll make a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
Okay, that's a motion, Commissioner Lardon-Watt, and who's the second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Rosario, was that your first second?
Yes.
Well done. Okay, so we have a new motion. We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? I don't see any, so I will go through another roll call vote. Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
This is a tricky one. However, for me, because I know that there's going to be a requirement of the historical preservation permit, so additional analysis will be done as part of this, and because the interior of the building appears not to have has been modified such that it doesn't have historical significance. So that's why I'm in favor now of the project.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Ornelas Wise. So anyone else? Don't see any more hands. So going back through the call again, Commissioner Lardon-Watt.
Yes.
Commissioner Alawalia. Commissioner Alawalia.
No.
I think we should explain what we're voting on now to make it a bit clearer.
So for the commission, we have a motion on the floor to approve the staff recommendation. So the rendering you see is the staff recommendation that's going forward. There's a motion and a second. Is that clear to everyone on the motion?
So just to be clear, there's a new motion on the table to essentially approve the project as it looks now. And saying yes would be to approve the project as it is currently constructed.
That is correct. So we'll just do it real quick just to check, make sure. Commissioner Lardon-Watt.
Yes.
Commissioner Alawalia.
No.
That's a no. Commissioner Barosio.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Casey.
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia.
No.
Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosario.
Yes.
Myself, yes. If staff would please display the vote. And we are going to take a 3-minute break. We'll be back at 9:08, and the public comment on the next item due to the hour will be limited to 1 minute. So we'll be back at 9:08. item for a public hearing, item C, SP 21031, T 21033, ER 21134, and HP 21007, special use permit to allow demolition of all existing buildings. And this is up for staff at this point.
Thank you, Chair. Evening, Commissioners. It's late, so I will keep this brief so we can get to the applicant presentation and public comment. My name is Alec Atienza. I'm the Planning Project Manager in the Planning Division for this project before you. So the project before you is the Icon Echo Mixed Use Project. It's located just north of the site that we were just discussing earlier. It's bounded by 4th Street, East St. John, and East Santa Clara. The project consists of the following components. So it's a special use permit to demolish all existing buildings on site. It's approximately 22,000 square feet for the construction of 2 high-rise buildings. So the Icon is the 24-story office building, consists of about 525,000 square feet of office space and 8,500 square feet of ground floor retail space with up to 10 commercial condominiums that will be located roughly where the Chevron exists today, at the corner of Santa Clara and 4th. The second component is the Echo, which is a 27-story residential tower that would be the northern portion of the site. That would consist of approximately 415 residential units. They would be connected with a podium parking structure. Project also includes Saturday construction hours from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. With that, also a vesting tentative map, so that would reconfigure the current 4 lots into 2 lots, and would also allow for 415 residential condos and the 10 commercial condos that I just mentioned. And lastly, we have a historic preservation permit, and that would allow the demolition of the 3 buildings at the northern end of the site at the corner of 4th and St. John for the construction of that residential tower that I just spoke about, and that is within the St. James Square City Landmark District. Just to give you a little background, so this is the entire site is located within the downtown general plan designation and the downtown primary commercial designation, similar to what Rena had mentioned previously on the Suzico project. So when we're looking at a project, we're looking at conformance with the envisioned San Jose 2040 general plan. Specifically, in this case, we're looking at consistency with applicable goals and policies for land use and development in downtown. And again, this project site is in the downtown employment overlay district, so that requires a significant amount of commercial square footage prior to allowing residential square footage. The project is consistent with the applicable development standards, parking requirements, and tree removal mitigation requirements of the municipal code. And the project is also consistent with the downtown design guidelines and standards, with the exception of the 2 design exception requests made by the applicant as listed in the staff report. And then lastly, staff followed City Council Policy 6-30 for public outreach. This project was heard at the Historic Landmarks Commission meeting for early referral back in October of 2021. We also held a joint EIR scoping and community meeting in October of 2021, so around this time last year. Additionally, on-site signs are posted on the project frontage. Notices of this hearing and the upcoming City Council hearing were mailed at a radius of 1,000 feet. We also provided notices in Mandarin, as the adjacent Town Park Towers site has a significant Mandarin-speaking population. So next, I'm just going to pass it off to Shannon Hill again for the discussion of the CEQA portion of the project.
Thank you, Alex. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Shannon Hill. I'm the Environmental Project Manager for the Icon Echo Mixed Use Project. As the lead agency, the City of San Jose prepared a supplemental environmental impact report to the Downtown Strategy 2040 EIR in compliance with the requirements of CEQA and the CEQA guidelines. The draft SEIR was circulated for 45 days from June 17th, 2022 to August 1st, 2022. The draft SEIR identified potential environmental impacts that would be reduced to a less than significant level with mitigation incorporated for cumulative construction air quality, nesting migratory birds, previously undocumented historic era and Native American archaeological resources, exposure to hazards and hazardous materials due to potential contamination associated with the historical use of the site, and construction-related noise and vibration. The draft SEIR found that the project would result in a significant and unavoidable impact to cultural resources due to the proposed northern tower's lack of compatibility with the St. James Square City Landmark District in terms of features, size, scale, proportion, and massing, which is related to the Secretariat of the Interior Standard 9, and because the proposed northern tower does not conform with the site layout and setbacks, surface treatment such as fenestration and detailing, and landscaping guidelines of the St. James Square Historic District guidelines. As a result, the proposed northern tower would impact the design, feeling, and association of the St. James Square City Landmark District and impair the overall historic integrity of the district by introducing incompatible infill, was the overall determination. Significant and unavoidable impacts were also identified for land use and planning in the draft SEIR because the proposed northern tower would not comply with general plan policies adopted for the purpose of avoiding or mitigating impacts to historic resources and significant unavoidable shade and shadow impacts on St. James Park, which is defined as a 10% or more increase in shading of the park. During the 45-day public review and comment period, staff received 6 written comment letters on the environmental document. The main concerns raised by the commenters were impacts to the St. James Square City Landmark District, cumulative impacts to city historic resources, cumulative construction air quality impacts, construction noise impacts, concurrent construction of downtown projects and related coordination, the necessity of Native American and archaeological monitors during construction activities, conformance with the city's greenhouse gas reduction strategy, and on-site contamination associated with historic uses of the project site. Staff addressed all comments received on the First Amendment to the draft SEIR, which is posted on the city's active environmental EIR's planning page under the Icon Echo Mixed Use Project subpage. More details on the points raised in the comment letters received during the public circulation period and the letter received today can be reviewed there. I'd also like to add that staff notes a comment letter was submitted at 12:26 p.m. today from Alicia C. Pember of Adams, Broadwell, Joseph, and Cardoso on the proposed project. The supplemental letter reiterates, yeah?
Quick question. Hasn't this party introduced such a late comment on other items that have come before the commission?
That is correct.
Yes, they have.
Robert?
And not tonight, but yes.
Yes, they have in the past, yeah.
And so it's not like they don't know that you should get comments in a little bit earlier to give staff the opportunity to review.
They do know.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Continue, please.
That's okay, no problem. So yeah, we received the letter today, 12:26 p.m. From Adams, Broadwell, Joseph, and Cardosa. The supplemental letter reiterated the concerns raised during public circulation of the SEIR, namely that the SEIR fails to adequately analyze and mitigate the project's significant environmental impacts, and the city lacks substantial evidence to make the requisite findings to make the project approvals. In addition, one new issue was raised in today's comment letter regarding the inclusion of affordable housing in the northern residential tower, the Echo Tower. Just briefly go over what the responses are to those issues brought up today. The commenter acknowledged that the final SEIR includes responses to their comments and makes revisions to the draft SEIR aiming to address some of the issues that were previously raised, including a condition of approval requiring enrollment in San Jose Clean Energy's Total Green program, which provides 100% renewable energy, and changing the project to no longer propose natural gas usage, although a limited exemption to the REACH code allows natural gas in the proposed retail and restaurant space through the end of the year. Regarding the comment related to cumulative health risks through emissions of toxic air contaminants, the project's annual particulate matter 2.5, PM 2.5 for short, concentration would be below the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, BACMD for short. The single source threshold and the required mitigation would further reduce the project level annual PM 2.5 concentration to well below the single source threshold. As discussed in the First Amendment, the BACMD CEQA guidelines state that in instances where a pre-existing cumulative health risk impact exists, which is the case for the proposed project, the project's individual contribution to that cumulative impact should be analyzed, and if project health risks would be reduced to below the single source thresholds with best available mitigation measures or control measures, the project's contribution to pre-existing cumulative impacts would not be cumulatively considerable. This approach was confirmed by BACMD in coordination meetings with the city following the public comment period. In addition, although not required, the applicant has agreed to incorporate additional measures recommended by BACMD that are recommendations and not currently included in the BACMD CEQA guidelines as best available control measures, including providing portable air filtration units to nearby land uses during construction. Regarding the comment regarding significant construction-related noise impacts, the city considers significant construction noise impacts to occur if a project located within 500 feet of residential uses or 200 feet of commercial or office uses would involve substantial noise generating activities, such as building demolition, grading, excavation, pile driving, things like that, continuing for more than 12 months, which is defined in General Plan Policy EC-1.7. Although not applicable to construction, the threshold summarized in General Plan Policy EC-1.2 for operational noise were used in combination with the city's construction noise threshold, EC 1.7 again, as a conservative estimate of significant construction noise, even though a substantial noise generating activities as defined in General Plan Policy EC-1.7 may not occur for 12 months or more. It's speculative at this point, but to be conservative, the assumption is that it would continue for more than 12 months. So the preparation of a noise logistics plan, excuse me, in compliance with policy EC-1.7 would reduce construction noise impacts to a less than significant level. The new issue raised since public circulation states that the proposed project would conflict with state and local policies requiring generation of affordable housing by failing to include affordable housing units. For reference, economic impacts are not analyzed under CEQA. However, to address this comment, as for all city projects that include residential development, the project is conditioned to comply with the city's inclusionary housing ordinance, and no certificate of occupancy would be issued until all requirements of the inclusionary housing ordinance and the applicant's affordable housing agreement are met. So that concludes responses to today's comment. As part of the EIR process, 6 project alternatives were also identified to the proposed project, including a location alternative, the no project, no development alternative required for all projects requiring an EIR, reduced height of northern and southern towers alternative, reduced height of northern tower to 70 feet and 20-foot setback alternative, reduced height of northern tower to 160 and 135 feet alternative, and a 20-foot setback of the northern tower alternative. Beyond the no project, no development alternative, the reduced height of the northern tower to 70 feet with a 20-foot setback alternative would be the environmentally superior alternative because setback, size, scale, proportion, and massing of this alternative would be compatible with the St. James Square City Landmark District, and features such as fenestration and architectural features could be refined to achieve maximum conformance with the standards and guidelines. However, the significant, even though there's a significant reduction in height, there would the 10% shade and shadow impact on St. James Park would remain. Should the Planning Commission recommend the City Council to approve the proposed project, the City Council must adopt a statement of overriding considerations with findings that the specific economic, legal, social, technological, or other benefits, including region-wide or statewide environmental benefits of a proposed project, outweigh the unavoidable adverse environmental effects if an environmentally superior alternative is not chosen. The comments received do not identify any substantive inadequacies in the supplemental EIR or new previously unidentified significant impacts that would require recirculation. And that concludes this portion of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. So just with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend staff's recommendation to the City Council. And thank you.
Thanks, Alec. Thanks, Shannon. I think at this point, we'll go on to the applicant for 5 minutes. And who will be speaking from the applicant, Alec?
Danielle, can you pull over Peter Solar and Wright Sherman, please? They should, I think they'll be raising their hands maybe if you can't find them. There's Wright. I see Wright Sherman. I see Peter.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Will you be speaking or both of you be speaking?
So I'll be presenting the presentation, and then if questions come up regarding the architectural, Wright Sherman from WRNS will speak on behalf of that.
Okay, you got 5 minutes.
Well, actually, I think we have a Chinese interpreter, so wouldn't I have 10 minutes for that?
So, staff on the Chinese or language interpretation. I mean, I know we would do it for public comment. Are we saying that the presentation should also be done in the alternative language?
I have not heard that one before.
I don't ever recall that.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, this is for language translation is available for public comment, not for the presentation.
Okay. All right, I'm ready to go.
But I'm sorry, but suffice it to say, staff, if a member of the public, there is interpretation going on, but we've seen that before, but they're interpreting everything, like staff comments, commissioner, council comments, everything, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you're good to go for 5 minutes.
Wonderful, thank you. Hello, my name's Peter Solar. I'm representing Urban Catalyst tonight. We have Russ Sherman from WRNS. Also, we have Paul Ring and Alex Sununu from Urban Catalyst in case other questions come up. And then we have a number of environmental consultants if any questions come up regarding CEQA. First, want to thank the planning commissioners and chairman as well as the planning staff for all your help to get us to where we are tonight. Urban Catalyst is a local developer that focuses only on downtown San Jose. They've built in San Jose for the last 20 years and have built quite a bit of market rate and affordable housing. And they built approximately 2,000 units of affordable housing in downtown San Jose. So here's the site. Again, it's 4th Street, East Santa Clara and East St. John. It's a 2-acre site. Obviously, the reason why we like the site is it's downtown, high density, located on East Santa Clara across from City Hall, right on the future BART line, distance from VTA light rail. This is a TOD project that is the vision and and priorities of the general plan of San Jose's downtown general plan. The project, as it stands right now, the existing uses are a tattoo shop, a vacant church, and a Chevron station. These are all non-contributing properties. Just wanted to point that out. The project that we're talking about today is a mixed-use development called Icon Echo. The Icon part is the office part, which includes 525,000 square feet of office space with up to 8,000 square feet of retail. And the Echo part is the residential portion, which includes 415 residential units. The architect attempted to work within the San Jose design guidelines, the historic design guidelines, as well as working within understanding the neighborhood buildings and talking to the community. And so we tried to break up the massing by adding these double high lanterns, stepping back the building with an exterior stair, have outdoor space here. We have office cassettes that line the parking so you can't see the parking garage. And then we have a 2-story lobby area as well as the retail that fronts Santa Clara. Here is the blown up version of Icon. As you can see, we have this clock tower here. We have a step back from the Alliance Historic Building, as well as a retail sliver and a 2-story lobby. This is to kind of replicate what's happening across the street from an historic standpoint. On the Echo side, this is the residential piece. We broke up the building into two separate buildings. We also have a roof deck that overlooks the St. James Park. We have a lanai that basically steps back the building here to break up the base and the top of the building. And we have a woven facade that mirrors some of the historic elements and was actually a recommendation from HLC. This is the blown up version of it. As you can see, here's the lanai. Here's some of the facades to mirror what happens across the historic area. Again, this actually hides the garage spaces, and then you have a 2-story lobby area. The project comes with a lot of community benefits. Obviously, being on BART and being a TOD project is one. We have approximately 3,600 new residents and workers to come to the downtown core area. We're proposing $20 million in combined fees for affordable housing. We have $5 million for park fees, which we'd like to allocate to the Levitt Pavilion, which is located in St. James Park. We have $1.5 million going to local schools and $5 million in construction taxes and $10 million in property taxes. We currently are paying $450,000 in property taxes. In addition, our neighbor Town Park Towers will get a $10 million investment, which includes a turnkey courtyard, upgraded utilities, and secured lighted parking. We're also proposing to invest $7 million worth of street and sidewalk improvements, which we can talk about later. This is the courtyard that we're developing for the Town Park Towers facility. As you can see, we're stepping back the courtyard, and we increased it on our property we increased our courtyard by 80%. We also programmed our courtyard with a seated area. This is for game tables. This is Tai Chi, and then this is dining, and then there's a gardening area. We did a tremendous amount of community outreach. These are all the people that we talked to, and then the asterisks are the people that actually gave support letters, and we got 12 support letters. Obviously, having community outreach and community input with the neighbors makes the project better, and we're happy to have that input, and we think the project's better, and we look forward to working with you. That's it.
Thank you for keeping to time. I was doing it on my phone here. Okay, great. So the applicant is presented. Now we want to go to public comment. And at this time, we want to see if anybody that's on the phone or on the meeting needs any Chinese translation. Is that correct, staff?
Yes, so if you do not need Chinese translation, if you could put your hands down, just so we can kind of see who actually needs it.
I don't see any.
No, I don't think so either.
Okay, so then we'll just go back to anyone who wants to make a comment, and then at the end, we can ask again on if a language translation.
Okay.
Okay.
The timer up.
And it's 1 minute.
Okay. Okay, so NorCal Carpenters, you are unmuted.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Humberto Nava. I'm a NorCal Carpenters Field representative and San Jose resident. I represent over 7,000 members here in Santa Clara County. Projects like Icon Echo Tower are a great opportunity to provide good paying jobs locally for residents in San Jose, current their commute and given the opportunity to earn a livable wage and allow us to work close to home. Developers should be required to invest in a skilled and trained construction workforce by committing to high labor standards and apprenticeship opportunities. San Jose needs more trained construction workers to meet demand for new housing, tech industry expansion, and major public infrastructure projects that are in the pipeline. Promoting apprenticeship programs participation also will help to ensure workers that build new housing in San Jose can afford housing on their own. Investing in skilled and trained workforce will create opportunities for young people and residents in our community to learn a trade so they can afford to stay in the region and raise their families here. And with that, retain economic benefit here in San Jose. What a great community benefit. I encourage every one of you to take leadership in creating responsible development, allowing developers to make money in their investments, and our working men and women to have a wage that they.
Okay, who's next?
Paul, go ahead.
Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. One of the things I'd like to point out is that the rate of inflation for these construction workers is going to far outweigh anything that they earn. They don't know that yet, though. They're just completely unaware of that. But the rate of the inflation of the buildings that they're helping to build is actually their own coffins. They're actually digging their own graves and don't even know it. One of the other things that I'd like to point out is that these unavoidable issues. Eric Hayden has done a lot of construction there in downtown. It's already obvious that him and Dillable own downtown. Downtown belongs to them. I'm already fully aware of that. Okay, but it's my role as a community member, as a lifelong Chicano here in the city, to ensure that I do not make it easy, that I make it as difficult as possible, because I don't care how many billions of dollars they invest in downtown. It still belongs to us because we are the ones that built it. We are the ones that created the economies and created San Jose to be one of the most attractive cities in the entire world. So much so, Chinese want to come here.
Thank you, Paul. Who's next, staff?
Nate, you are unmuted.
Good evening. My name is Nate LeBlanc. I'm the Business Development Manager for the San Jose Downtown Association, here representing the association and our 2,000 member businesses. Icon Echo is vital to our vision for an urbanizing downtown. Our Downtown Design Commission reviewed the project and found that it exceeded many of our criteria in several different areas. Downtown needs more of everything: jobs, residents, retail. And pushing this project forward is a great way to accomplish some of those goals in one fell swoop. We hope that you recommend the project to proceed to the full council for approval, and that is able to be constructed in something close to its current form as rendered in the near future. And we thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. And we're on to our next speaker. Is that Tony?
Yes, Tony.
Yes, thank you and good evening, commissioners and staff. My name is Tony Miranda and I'm the current board chair for the San Jose Chamber of Commerce. And I also chair the Housing and Land Use Policy Committee. Our committee is made up of design, construction, and real estate professionals, as well as a diverse group of local, small, medium, and large corporate businesses, in addition to educational institutions. The Icon Echo mixed-use project was presented to our committee seeking our support. After their presentation, our committee discussed the project in some detail and ultimately moved to unanimously recommend that our board of directors take a formal position of support, which we have via letter to the city, primarily because A, it fits within the general plan. This project is ideal, smart planning with a residential building supporting the additional workers that the office building will bring. It creates a way for less cars and yet more people to work, live, play in our downtown. It is the right site for the project of this magnitude and the type providing housing and economic boost to the area. And C, it addresses badly needed housing near downtown San Jose with a significant number of multifamily residential units, while also providing valuable new space. We strongly recommend you approve this. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Next.
Thank you. My name is Dominic Toriano. I'm a member of the Silicon Valley Residents for Responsible Development. I'm here representing the dozens of residents who are Silicon Valley resident members who live in San Jose and Santa Clara County. The project does not help the city meet its affordable housing goals. The regional housing need allocation is a state mandated process to identify the total number of housing units by affordability level that each city and county must provide. The city's annual progress report shows that San Jose is ahead of scheduling in delivering market rate housing, but is behind schedule in delivering all other income levels of affordable housing. Extremely low, very low, low and moderate income. The city has 19,425 affordable units left to build in the 2015 to 2023 period. By only offering market rate housing, the project is inconsistent with state law. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Vince Rocha.
Good evening, Vince Rocha, representing the Silicon Valley Leadership Group. We have endorsed this project because it meets the needs and goals that leaders have envisioned for downtown San Jose for decades. It brings jobs, housing, vibrancy, and interesting architecture to the downtown in a way that fits within our transit-oriented development plans for the area. Not only will it invigorate the downtown, but by being located near transit, it'll ensure high ridership and remove cars from our roads. Our organization fully supports this and hope you recommend the City Council do so as well with your vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. Is it Allie that's next?
Good evening. Oh, sorry. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Allie Saperman. I'm here as a San Jose resident and on behalf of the Housing Action Coalition, who has endorsed this project. This is a great infill project, mixed use, adding over 400 new homes as well as jobs near a future BART station will maximize the vision for transit-oriented development the city is looking to achieve. It's critical we build housing of all income levels, and housing on a largely empty lot is better than no housing. But also, when we don't build enough market rate housing, it means that wealthier renters will move into older apartment complexes intended for low-income communities. That means in turn, we won't have enough affordable housing for middle and lower income residents who will be forced to move elsewhere. This project also follows the general plan. It reduces environmental harms such as VMT, which far outweighs any air quality concerns from construction. It also adds needed new homes using prevailing wage labor. And as such, there is no reason you should delay this project. Please move forward the staff recommendation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Allie. I think is it Steve that's next?
Yes, go ahead, Steve.
Thank you, Steve Borkenhagen here, longtime resident and worker, business owner, and now nonprofit executive director downtown. I think this is exactly the kind of project that many of us have been working for our entire lives. So I strongly encourage the Planning Commission to recommend, follow staff's recommendation to the City Council, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve.
Luis, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. My name is Luis Morante. I'm the Vice President of Public Policy for the Bay Area Council. We represent about 300 of the Bay's largest businesses and are here in strong support of this proposal. As many speakers have already mentioned, our region is in perhaps its most dire housing shortage of its history. We need this housing. We need this housing in the location that it's being proposed in, next to transit, where we know we're going to have a positive impact on the environment rather than a negative one. And we need the office space in that same place too. Just the other day, the state released an update on our emissions portfolio, finding once again that transportation emissions remain our region and our state's largest contributor to greenhouse gases or greenhouse gas emissions. Projects like these are critical for reducing those greenhouse gas emissions and creating a more sustainable and affordable future for folks in our region. I hope you'll support the project tonight.
Thank you.
Aiden, go ahead.
Good evening, honorable commissioners. My name is Aiden Marshall, speaking on behalf of Silicon Valley residents for responsible development. I'm here before you today to request the Planning Commission not recommend approval of the project. We submitted comments on the SEIR prepared for the project. And our comments show that the SEIR does not adequately analyze and mitigate significant environmental impacts. And by not including affordable housing in the actual project, the project conflicts with housing element policies. As a result, the city cannot make the findings to approve the project's permits. We respectfully request the Planning Commission, not recommend approval of the project until these inconsistencies are resolved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is it Mike that's next?
Yes, Mike Sodergren, Preservation Action Council. While not inherently opposed, we are again considering demolition of 2 turn-of-the-century and 1 mid-century place of worship in a historic district. The district was formed as a tribute to its history as a park surrounded by primarily places of worship and as a complement to the commercial historic district. We are going to ignore the standards. They're designed to protect the integrity of a historic district. So the impacts that are called significant but unavoidable are once again, I believe, avoidable. Instead of looking at the boundaries of the district to see if the boundaries are drawn correctly, the standards for heights and massings and that the standards of heights and massing are indeed appropriate, we're using a financial hardship exception to go forward. This is not good. Visibility of the Tommy John Smith and John Carlos mural on the Alliance building should also be maintained. Thank you.
Thank you. I think our next speaker is Michelle.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. My name is Michelle Mashburn. As an immunocompromised disabled resident that lives in Town Park Towers next door to this development, this project does impact my health, safety, peace, and welfare. Additionally, I recently had an ADA accommodation request refused, largely in part due to this project. I also want the commission to look at who's represented in the outreach that Urban Catalyst has done, because you'll see mostly corporations, and what's missing on that page is the residents of Town Park Towers. What's also missing in this meeting is that your interpretation channel is currently, the Chinese Mandarin interpretation is happening in the English channel and not in the actual Chinese channel. So you're actually not facilitating the engagement of those residents from this building. This building, I moved in here in 2007. And it's been a lovely place where everybody was engaging and happy and everything else until Miro Towers went up. And at that point, we started to see residents very dissatisfied, very depressed, and very underwhelmed. I would like staff to reach out to me to file a complaint about the way this hearing was conducted, because I found it oppressive on many levels, and I appreciate.
Sorry, your time was up. Next we have Ryan, if you could unmute yourself.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Ryan Globus. I'm a resident of San Jose, and I'm calling in to support this project for many of the reasons that were stated previously about housing, the housing crisis and the environmental benefits of the new housing. And I just wanted to say, I think it's poetic that such a transit-rich area, we have the opportunity to demolish a gas station and replace it with housing and offices. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Catherine's next.
Hi, my name is Catherine Hedges, and I'm a tenant at Donner Lofts, which is on the other side of 4th Street from the project site. No one has ever reached out to me with any kind of outreach about this project. I received the city postcards. I received email today from Housing Action Coalition asking me to call and support it. And they did not say that there isn't affordable housing in the building. Even if this is condos, they could have missing middle type opportunities for middle income families to buy condos if it's not going to be the type of building where they could incorporate low income housing. And I share a lot of Michelle's concerns about the problems of construction, primarily the Miro Towers developers were not following procedures and it greatly impacted people. My building was shaking and I couldn't sleep and after like 5 in the morning.
Okay, Molly, unmute yourself, please.
Good evening. My name is Molly McLeod, and I am a frequent visitor to Town Park Towers. Have friends who live there and have observed the negative impacts of really early morning and late night construction. The challenges that have been raised, many of them have not been addressed as yet. The parking continues to be an issue, and the presentation went by really quickly for the improvements. I saw the Tai Chi, but that was also right next to the garbage. I don't know if that was changed. So there's just not having affordable housing and the concerns for the current tenants, many of whom are elderly or disabled. I would say vote no. Thanks.
I don't see any more hands. Do you?
No, those were the end of the hands.
Okay, great. Well, we'll return back to the applicant. You have 5 minutes to share whatever you think is pertinent with the commission.
Great, thank you. So I'm gonna try to respond to a couple comments that I can. There was a comment regarding the from NorCal Carpenters. So the project regarding union labor, and just so everyone's aware, the project is both buildings are type 1 construction, which means they're built out of concrete and steel. And these trades that typically build with concrete and steel are typically union trades for the most part. And in addition to that too, I wanted to let the representative know that we actually have hired a group called DevCon Construction to oversee pre-construction services. And DevCon, as you may remember, they actually built City Hall, and they also built the 49er Stadium. So, you know, there will be a high percentage of union labor on the project, just by the sheer nature of the project, just FYI. And then I'm happy to go through the site plan on the courtyard. We can talk about that. There is a new garbage area that's going to be part of the project that will be outside of the main courtyard area so that people can enjoy the courtyard. I also have a slide that I'd like to show on the historic. So if I could do that, and it's telling me I can't share, but I'd like to show the historic information from the HLC meeting that we had, and we could get into that too at some point if someone had more questions about that. I'm happy to do that. Obviously, we got a lot of support for the project. Really appreciate people coming and speaking in favor. We really do think this is a TOD project with office right next door to residential, and we envision, a user that's going to go to work and walk home, and vice versa. And we really think that having the transportation with the BART and VTA is just so essential for the area. So we really are excited about this project. But that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Peter, you made reference to sharing something, and I know you were frustrated because you couldn't share it, but do you think you want to just take a moment to share what you wanted to share?
Yeah, it's telling me I can't share.
No problem. We can make sure that you have that privilege.
Okay. Yeah, if you can do that. I do. Yeah. All right. Great. Let me do that. Hang on a second, please. Okay, that's not it. 1 second. Let me try again. Sorry about this.
It's always when people are watching, you're looking at this type of stuff, right? If you were typing, it would be even worse.
Yeah, there's quite a few too. All right. So here's the HLC presentation. I just wanted to point out the boundary that impacted, so to show where that we were in the HLC is just to give everybody a sense. The gold is the HLC boundary for the St. James Historic District. And as you can see, a small portion of our site is in that area, is in this district. And it's interesting enough, some of the requirements for the district are that you have to be right on the park. And as you can see, we're one lot off the park, which is interesting. And we never really understood why we were actually in the district. And we asked staff and we looked into it, but we didn't really know why we were in the district. But you can see everything in blue is non-contributing structures. And so the red structures are contributing. So not only are we're one lot away, we're also in a next door to non-contributing structures. So that was the genesis. And then, but we were in the district and we had to be representative and we were mindful. So when our architect initially designed the project, he went and walked around the historic district and he looked at these buildings and he was noticing some of these elements of the buildings and used those elements as contextual relationships to try to create the Echo building. So there was a lot of attempt that was made to try to do that. You can see the Eagles Lodge in the Echo North elevation, and then the sight lines. And so these types of contextual relationships were part of the original HLC early referral. And we had a meeting with them about a year ago.
I think the time might be up though. Just want to be cognizant of that.
Okay, I can.
But we can, at least you have it to reference it in case it comes up in the conversation.
Yeah. And if someone has more questions about it, I'm happy to get into it. So, which I assume they will, so.
Okay, great. So let's go to the commission, see if there's any questions for staff or applicant. I see Commissioner Rosario. Commissioner Rosario, you still there?
Sorry about that. Just wanted to say that I did have ex parte communication with a representative from Urban Catalyst to just generally discuss the project and generally what the Historic Landmarks Commission thought about it, which I generally understood by listening to their commission meeting, which I think happened earlier this month. I'd also just, if possible, I could make a recommendation to staff. If you could add a channel for the Historic Landmarks Commission on the YouTube, on San Jose's YouTube page, that would be excellent. So.
Okay, well, then we'll move on to Commissioner Lardenois.
I'm curious what the plan is for this project to comply with the inclusionary housing ordinance.
So similar to the last applicant, we're continuing to work with the housing department. We're farther along, so we're proposing to pay over $20 million over the life of the project through fees and taxes. And in addition, obviously, I did mention earlier that the Urban Catalyst folks are probably some of the largest affordable developers in downtown San Jose. Some of the founders are, and affordable housing is, very important. We are very aware of the need of affordable housing in San Jose, California, pretty much the rest of the country. So, we're very mindful of that. And in fact, our project will have various different types of unit types to appeal to different users. So we have studios, we have 1 bedrooms, and we have 2 bedrooms, and they're all different sizes within studio sizes and 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. So, a roommate can bunk up with another roommate if they have a 2 bedroom, and the 2 bedrooms are designed for roommate use. So we're hopeful that we have a lot of different types of users that will be at the residential units.
Thank you.
Staff on St. James Street, directly fronting St. James Park between 1st and 2nd, I believe is it the park It's where the old Christ Scientist building is, and that's going to be adapted into a new development. I think it's called Parkview Towers or something like that. And that's directly facing the park versus this is, sort of on the periphery. That would seem to be more of a, I don't know, more likely to have been more contentious at the time than this. There was a question mark at the end.
I don't have a lot of history with that, but I know what project you're talking about. But I believe that the majority of the project in terms of the height of the building is located outside the boundaries of the district. And there was some difference in the massing and scale of that particular development.
Okay, it just looked like on the map it was directly in it because it was right across the street from the park. But okay. Any other questions from commissioners? I see Commissioner Barocio.
Perfect, thank you. Yes, thank you to everyone who's spoken, and especially to the applicant, Mr. Solar. Thank you for being upfront and transparent with your presentation, especially your early commitment to the type of contribution that the project will have on our affordable housing. I know there's still lots to be talked about that, but I do appreciate the transparency and early commitment. Two questions, and I pull this from the public comments and the letters that have been written. One of them from Mr. Sayers Rhodes, speaking on behalf of a Native American perspective, in terms of offering a Native, well, what he calls a Native American monitor. Is that something you're familiar with? Where he's coming from is the possible excavation and the depth that you'll go in the project may unearth some Native American artifacts. And is that going to change the approach that your team will have on the excavation? And then the second one, it was brought up by Mr. And correct me if I say your name wrong, Sodinger from PACT SJ, in reference to the mural that we see from the Chevron, right? I mean, to me, my whole life, I've seen that mural. So I wonder what's going to happen to it. I don't know if in the project there's going to be a glass wall 2 stories high so we can still see it, or is that just going to be blocked? And if so, is there an idea to move it, maintain it, bring it in? Obviously, that's a big project, right? To like carve out a side of a wall and bring it inside, or to bring in a new art installation if unfortunately that is what's going to happen.
Sure,
so the question is for the applicant. Thank you.
Yeah, so I can answer the mural question. I'll start with. Unfortunately, the building, because of it'll actually have a we have a fire stairwell there, so we actually will block the mural, and we can't put like a glass wall to see through it. It wouldn't work because of various fire codes and different things like that. But we've had several conversations with the artist representative, and we have thrown out the idea with them of creating a mural on an area that we've designated near the mural area, and it's roughly in similar size to that area. So and we're waiting to hear back from the artists if they're interested in proposing a mural. But we look forward to working with them and having public art. I think it'll add to the project, so we're excited for it. And then your other question regarding the Native American artifacts. So my understanding, if we do, when we're excavating, we're gonna be going down one level of below grade parking, so we will excavate the site. And if we in the conditions of approval, there's a whole process that you have to go through if you hit, those types of remains, and obviously other types of remains as well. So we would follow all those. And if there's some sort of monitor to help that process, then, for sure we could look into that. If it makes it, makes it part of the process, that's fine.
Perfect, thank you.
And I would just like to add to that, there is currently a mitigation measure for Native American and archaeological monitors during excavation. So that is included in the project to monitor just in case for archaeological and Native American resources on site.
I was just going to make that extent. Thank you. I was just going to mention.
Perfect, thank you, Ms. Hill. Thank you.
Any more questions, Commissioner Barroso? No?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Commissioner, and then Commissioner Cantrell, you're fine with that comment you made?
Yeah, that's what I was going to add.
Okay, great. And Commissioner Ornelas Wise?
This really looks like it's two projects in one. I know that it seems like it had 4 lots combined into 2. I would have really preferred this be 2 separate projects coming in to review, because it seems like both of them are very different from one another. At the same token, I would like to have seen them combine as live work. Just combine live work, seems to be that new hybrid of model of what we're going into as we move forward. One of the things that I saw was a lot of massing with the Echo project specifically. I think that's the one that's kind of closer to St. James Park. I guess I would have liked to see it a little bit more tiered down, kind of closer, to the park. I did drive by the site and, do go to San Jose State almost every day because I take my daughter to preschool there. So I'm in that area a lot, and I walk, and so safety as a woman is a concern in the downtown core. So what off-site improvements are you making to ensure that from there to public transportation, a woman is safe?
Sure. So obviously a couple things. One, again, you're going to have 3,600 potential, workers and residents from the project that will be, coming and going from the project, which will help with eyes on the street. And from a safety perspective, that would be a positive, I would assume. And then the other comment, we're redeveloping the entire 4th Street we're going to repurpose the street. We're going to put in upgraded bike area so that bikes can safely go back and forth and they won't impact pedestrians. And then we are also going to create two bulb outs at either intersection on our property as well as on the other side of the intersection. And we're going to upgrade the both streetlights at the St. John's intersection as well as Santa Clara to meet with those new bulb outs.
What about security on site?
So the projects will be, the buildings will be secure. Obviously, we'll have door access security, and also we'll have cameras on the inside of the buildings as well as the outside that will be monitored. The buildings will both be professionally managed by third-party groups, and those groups have security. They have concierge services that monitor the cameras, and they all have communication devices to chat. So, again, there'll be a lot more people looking at the street than there is now.
And of course, I think about children because I have small children. Of course, I'd like to see childcare on site where there is the offices. Of course, I'd like to see some sort of play structure, where there's potentially families with children. I know the park's there. I don't know if the park has a playground or not. I don't think I've seen one there.
It does.
It does?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's actually revamped a while back. It's pretty nice actually for an urban park.
Mhm. But, on site would be nice. Sometimes a parent wants to, not have the child on a device and wants them to have something interactive on site. I mean, I've seen a lot of really good projects. I think they're fantastic. I'd really like you to really think of children also. I mean, they're part of our population, the elderly next door. There was some concerns or questions about shadowing. Where is that shadowing really occurring? That 10% shadowing? Is it on the senior center next door, or is it on the park? Where's the shadowing going on?
Shannon Hill, do you want to talk about the shadowing?
Sure. Yeah, that threshold only pertains to shadow on certain city parks. St. James is one of them. So that's what it's analyzed for. There's not a threshold for shading on adjacent developments in the downtown strategy 2040 EIR.
One point I just wanted to mention, in addition, obviously, we increased that courtyard area for the Town Park Towers folks by 80%. We also stepped back the office building quite a bit so that we can allow more sun to get into the courtyard, because you could imagine you're building this courtyard and there'd be concerns that there wouldn't be any sun in there. So we actually stepped the building back to allow for more sun in that area in the courtyard, so that they can they can go outside and enjoy the sun as well.
Okay, those are the questions and concerns I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Barroso, did you have a second question?
Yes, I just wanted to circle back to the public comment that perhaps the interpretation channels weren't accurate. I don't know if staff, if you were able to verify that. That came in a little light, if someone was responding.
I believe that she had moved herself to the English channel, but we have her moved back now correctly. That was just a mistake on using Zoom. It wasn't how the meeting was set up. That's just a user error.
Okay, yeah, I bet, well, I apologize, right? Being a commissioner on here, if a member of the public didn't catch certain parts because of that discrepancy. So my apologies to whoever was impacted. Thank you, that's all.
Okay, any other comments from commissioners on this item? I did look up that Parkview Towers. It's 20 stories. The parcel faces directly on the park. So I'm comfortable with the height and project that's here before us. But if there's a motion.
I'll move for the staff recommendation.
Motion approved from Commissioner Lardenois. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Ornelas Wise. And any comments on the motion or the second or anything like that from anyone? Okay, then we'll just do a roll call vote. Commissioner Lardenois.
Yes.
Commissioner Alawalia.
Yes.
Commissioner Barroso.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantrell.
Actually, just one thing quickly. I'm glad there's a little bit more clarity on affordable housing here. It's not the solution I like best, but it's clear. So yes.
Absolutely, and we face it almost at every meeting. So it's not a Commissioner Casey.
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia.
Yes.
Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosario.
Yes.
Myself, yes. And we'll please display the vote. And we'll be moving on to nothing under item 6. Item 7 would be a report from City Council from Robert.
Yes, there is report for the 18th and yesterday. So on the 18th, the City Council approved the mobile home park land use designation status report and also the California Building Standards Code adoption, which was held concurrently with the amendment to the Building Reach Code ordinance. Yesterday, there were 2 items or 3 items. The uncodified ordinance extended land use and historic preservation permits for additional 2 years that came from this commission was approved. And the special use permit and tentative map for a project site located at 1065 South Winchester Boulevard also came from this commission, was approved. And then the 3rd amendment to the development agreement with Jackson Taylor Partners, LLC in Japantown, which also came through this commission, also approved. So all 3 were approved.
Great.
That is it for council report.
Thank you. And nothing, I don't think there's anything under item B. Item C, commission calendar. Do we have to adopt this calendar, or is this just information?
Yes, we forgot to vote last time, so we need to have a roll call vote on that.
Okay.
And the link shows the calendar. We need to adopt.
And do we need, but items 2 and 3 are purely informational. So it's just
That is correct.
item I, Roman numeral I. Okay,
Just
so is
I.
there a motion to approve the 2023 Planning Commission meeting schedule?
So moved.
Is that Larnois again? Yes?
Yeah.
Second.
Second from Cantrell. Let's vote on that. Commissioner Larnois,
Yes.
Commissioner Alwalia,
Yes.
Commissioner Barroso,
Yes.
Commissioner Cantrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Casey,
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Ornelas Wise,
Yes.
Commissioner Rosario,
Yes.
and myself, that's a yes. So then, otherwise, we have the planning, the retreat on November 4th. We have a study session, which is prior to our planning commission meeting on the November 16th. And is there anything on the public record, staff?
Nothing unless commissioners would like to make statements.
Anyone? Commissioner Cantrell?
Yeah, I know that this is, there are a couple of hiccups here today that, you know, there's an order that I think I've become accustomed to, where there's vetting done by the historical commission and things like that. Or it would be helpful if we could make sure that we're scheduling these things so that we can really have full information available to us before we make decisions. It would be extremely helpful.
Okay. Anyone else? And with that said, we will adjourn till November. Happy Halloween, everyone. Take care. Be well.
Good night.